Hello, sleepy soul. The night is quiet, the world is asleep, and something is waiting in the dark. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and write your country and current time in the comments. Now listen carefully. The first thing that felt wrong was how quiet everyone got when I walked into the room. Not silent, exactly. Not movie silent. More like the way people lower their voices when someone walks past, and they don't want them to know they were just being talked about. At the time, I was 22, living in a small town in northern Pennsylvania. The kind of place where everyone knew which grocery store your mom preferred and which gas station sold the cheapest coffee. I was finishing my last semester at community college and working part-time at a little bakery on Main Street. My life was ordinary in a way I used to find boring. Early shifts, online classes, late-night drives home under yellow streetlights, and weekends with the same group of friends I'd had since high school. And then there was Molly. Molly had been my best friend since 7th grade. She was louder than me, funnier than me, prettier in that effortless way where she could wear an oversized hoodie and still look like she meant to. I was quieter. I listened more than I talked. People usually met Molly first, then remembered me as the girl standing beside her. I didn't mind that. At least, I told myself I didn't. My birthday was on a Friday that year, February 9th. Cold enough that the inside of my car windshield frosted over every morning, and the whole town had that gray, tired look winter gives everything after Christmas is gone. Usually, Molly made a huge deal out of birthdays. She'd post countdowns, plan dinners, make embarrassing edits with old photos. But that year, she barely mentioned mine. At first, I thought she was busy. She'd been acting strange for weeks. Not mean exactly, just distracted. She stopped answering texts quickly. She canceled plans twice. When we did hang out, she kept looking at me in this careful way, like she was studying me. Once at a coffee shop, I caught her staring at my hands while I signed my name on a receipt. "What?" I asked, laughing a little. She blinked. "Nothing. Your handwriting is different than I remembered." That stuck with me, but I brushed it off. People say weird things. Then she started dressing like me. Again, not enough to accuse her, just enough to notice. I wore silver hoops almost every day, and suddenly she did too. I had this brown corduroy jacket I loved, and 2 weeks later she bought one almost identical. I changed my Instagram bio to a dumb little line from the song, and the next morning hers had the same format, same punctuation, just different words. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but something about it kept bothering me. On the morning of my birthday, I woke up to 4 texts. One from my mom, one from my dentist's office, reminding me about an appointment, one from an old co-worker I hadn't seen in months, and one from Molly. "Happy birthday, Nora. Big year." That was it. No hearts. No inside joke. No "I love you." Just those 5 words. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Then I typed, "Thanks. Are we still doing something tonight?" The typing dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then she wrote, "I'm not feeling great today. Rain check." The street outside my bedroom window looked ordinary, quiet, even comforting, but my gut told me something was off. I'd learned too late that danger often wears a friendly face. I told her it was fine, but it wasn't fine. That night, I came home from my shift at the bakery with a small cupcake my manager had given me. My parents were out at a dinner for my dad's work, so the house was empty. I ate the cupcake standing in the kitchen, still in my work shoes, trying not to feel stupid for being hurt. Then my phone buzzed. It was an Instagram notification. "Molly tagged you in a photo." My first reaction was relief. I actually smiled. I thought maybe she had posted something sweet. Maybe the rain check was a setup. Maybe I'd been dramatic. Then the photo loaded. It was Molly's basement. String lights. Balloons. A long folding table covered with snacks and plastic cups. At least 15 people from our friend group were there, and every single one of them was wearing a paper mask of my face. I didn't understand what I was looking at. The photo was blurry, but I could see my own face printed over and over again. My senior picture. The one where I had long hair and a crooked smile because the photographer made me laugh. The caption said, "She'll understand soon." My stomach turned so sharply I thought I might be sick. I clicked Molly's story. There were more clips. People laughing. Someone holding a cake with my name on it. My name, written in pink frosting. Nora. The camera panned across the room, and everyone in those masks turned toward it at the same time. Then Molly stepped into frame. She wasn't wearing a mask. She was wearing my brown corduroy jacket, my silver hoops. Her hair was parted the way I parted mine, tucked behind one ear. Even her makeup was done like mine. Light mascara, pale gloss, the little winged eyeliner I only did when I had time. She smiled at the camera and said, in a voice so close to mine it made my skin prickle, "Happy birthday to me." I dropped my phone on the kitchen floor. For a few seconds, I just stood there. The refrigerator hummed. The heater clicked on. Somewhere upstairs, the old pipes knocked like footsteps in the walls. Then my phone started ringing. Molly. I let it ring until it stopped. A text came through. "Don't be mad. You were invited. Just not as yourself." I read that sentence maybe 10 times. Then another message came. "Come over. Everyone's waiting." I should have called someone. My parents. The police. Anyone. Instead, I grabbed my keys. I know that sounds stupid. Believe me, I know. But when something like that happens, your brain doesn't go straight to danger. It goes to betrayal. It goes to humiliation. I didn't think I was walking into something unsafe. I thought I was going to confront my best friend and ask why she was being cruel. Molly lived 7 minutes away. Her house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, with woods behind it and one street lamp out front that always flickered. When I pulled up, there were cars lining both sides of the street. Familiar cars. People I had known for years. Music thumped faintly from inside. I walked to the front door with my hands, shaking so badly I dropped my keys once on the porch. Before I could knock, the door opened. Molly stood there. Up close, the imitation was worse. She had my perfume on. Vanilla and cedar, the cheap kind I bought from a mall kiosk. She was wearing a thin gold bracelet I had lost 3 weeks earlier, the one my grandmother gave me. I stared at it. She noticed and smiled. "You came," she said. Her voice was soft, almost relieved. "What is wrong with you?" I whispered. Her smile twitched, but she didn't move from the doorway. Behind her, I could see people standing. Paper money, plastic smile, empty eyes cut with flat photograph. "Come downstairs." "We already started." "I'm leaving." Someone behind her laughed. Not loudly, just a quick little sound, like they knew something I didn't. Molly reached for my hand, and I pulled back. Her expression changed then. Not anger, something colder. "Nora," she said, "don't make this harder than it has to be." I felt my pulse in my ears, my hands trembling as I fumbled for my keys. Every second felt stretched, like time itself was conspiring against me. Then someone stepped behind me. I turned and saw Ben, a guy from our friend group, standing at the bottom of the porch steps. He was wearing one of the masks pushed up onto his forehead. "Just go in," he said. "It's better if you go in." "What does that mean?" He looked genuinely sad. That scared me more than if he'd laughed. Molly grabbed my wrist. Hard. My heart sank into my stomach as the door clicked shut behind me, and I realized I was completely alone. Someone was watching, and I had no way out. They led me downstairs. The basement looked exactly like the Instagram story, except now that I was inside it, everything felt wrong in ways the camera hadn't shown. The balloons weren't regular birthday balloons. They had my name written on them in black marker. Some said Nora. Some said Old Nora. One near the stairs said thank you for making room. The cake sat in the middle of the table, untouched. And above it, taped to the wall, was a timeline of my life. Photos from childhood, school pictures, screenshots of my posts, printed text messages, notes in handwriting that looked almost exactly like mine. I saw little labels under each section. Speech pattern, favorite phrases, known fears, family behavior. Signature practice. I couldn't breathe. Molly, I said, but my voice came out thin. What is this? She stood beside the cake, surrounded by our friends. My birthday, she said. I shook my head. No, it's mine. There was a pause. Then everyone laughed. Not cruelly. That was the worst part. They laughed like I had said something innocent and confused. Molly tilted her head. You really still think that? I backed toward the stairs, but Ben moved in front of them. Molly has been better at being you for months, said Jenna, one of my closest friends. Her voice was gentle, like she was explaining something obvious. She remembers to reply. She shows up. She says the right things. She knows what people need from Nora, another friend said. I looked around at faces I had grown up with. People who had slept over at my house. People I had driven home when they were drunk. People I had trusted. You're all insane, I whispered. Molly stepped closer. No, she said. We're tired. That word hit me strangely. Tired. She said it like I had exhausted them by existing. You disappear into yourself, Molly continued. You make people chase you. You say you're fine when you're not. You make everyone feel guilty for not knowing how to fix you. My eyes burned. That doesn't mean you get to replace me. Molly's face softened for half a second. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out my driver's license. I went cold. I've been practicing, she said. She held up the card beside her face and smiled. The room clapped. That was when I ran. I shoved past Ben with more strength than I knew I had, but someone grabbed the back of my jacket. I slipped out of it, stumbled up the stairs, and slammed my shoulder into the basement door. It didn't open, locked from the outside. Behind me, the music had stopped. For one terrible second, all I heard was breathing. Then Molly said, Nora, come down. I screamed. I screamed louder than I ever had in my life. I kicked the door. I pounded with both fists. My throat burned. Upstairs, faintly, I heard the front door open. A woman's voice called, Molly? Everything okay? It was Molly's mom. Relief hit me so hard my knees almost gave out. Mrs. Keller, I screamed. Help me, please. Footsteps approached. The basement door unlocked. It opened. Mrs. Keller stood there in her coat, holding grocery bags. I pushed forward, sobbing. They locked me down here. Please call my parents. Call the police. She stared at me. Her eyes moved over my face. No recognition. Then she looked past me down the stairs and smiled. Molly, she called gently. Your friend seems upset. I turned. Molly was halfway up the stairs, calm and composed, wearing my jacket now. Mrs. Keller touched her arm. Not mine. Hers. What's her name again? Mrs. Keller asked. The basement went silent. Molly looked at me with pity. Then she said, That's Emily. She's been having a hard time. Emily. That wasn't my name. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. The next few minutes blur in my memory. I remember pushing past Mrs. Keller. I remember running outside without my jacket, slipping on icy grass, hearing someone call after me. I remember getting into my car and locking the doors with shaking fingers. Molly stood on the porch under the flickering street lamp. She raised one hand, not waving, practicing, the same small half wave I always gave people when I didn't know what else to do. I drove straight home. My parents' car was in the driveway. I ran inside crying so hard I could barely say anything. My mom came out of the living room, still in her dress from dinner, and her face filled with concern. Oh my God, she said. Honey, what happened? For 1 second, I thought it was over. I fell into her arms. Mom, I sobbed. It's Molly. She did something. Everyone was there. They were wearing my face, and... My mom pulled back. Her hands stayed on my shoulders. Her expression changed. Confusion first, then discomfort. Sweetheart, she said slowly. Who are you? The room tilted. My dad appeared behind her. He looked irritated at first, then concerned, then blank in the same terrible way. Did Molly bring you here? He asked. I stared at him. Dad. He flinched. My mother stepped back from me, and then my phone buzzed. A new Instagram notification. Molly had posted another photo. She was in my house, standing in my bedroom. My bedroom. She was sitting on my bed with my parents on either side of her, all three of them smiling at the camera. The caption said, "Best birthday ever. Thank you for helping me become who I was supposed to be." I looked up slowly. My parents were still standing in front of me, but now their faces were different. Softer. Polite. The way you look at a stranger having a breakdown in public. My dad reached for his phone. "I think we should call someone," he said. "Not the police for me. On me." I ran before he could. That was 2 years ago. I don't live in Pennsylvania anymore. I won't say where I live now. I changed my hair. I changed my name because eventually I had no choice. The name Nora didn't belong to me. My sister. I can't smile. My old email recovered. My school said Nora already. My parents' number is still saved in my contacts, but when I called once from a blocked line, my mother answered and said, "Molly, is that you?" Before I even spoke, I hung up. People ask why I don't try harder, why I don't go back with evidence. But evidence is a funny thing when everyone has agreed not to see it. Sometimes late at night, I check Molly's social media from fake accounts. I know I shouldn't. It never helps. She has my laugh now, my haircut, my little way of writing captions without capital letters. She posts pictures with my parents on holidays. She visits my grandmother's grave. She wears the gold bracelet. And every year on February 9th, she posts a birthday photo. Last year, the caption was simple. "Still me. Even after escaping, even with hundreds of miles between us, a small, cold part of me can't stop replaying the face I saw through that basement doorway. The calm, empty eyes of my best friend, waiting for me to understand." The scariest part isn't that Molly took my life. It's that everyone handed it to her. And some nights, when I catch my reflection in a dark window, I swear it hesitates half a second too long before copying me. I didn't notice the first picture until Marcus showed it to me by accident. At least, that's what I told myself for a while. I was 16 then, a junior at a public high school in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. Not the kind of place where anything dramatic really happened. We had one Walmart, 2 gas stations, a football field everyone treated like sacred ground, and a downtown strip that looked nice only during Christmas when they put lights around the old brick buildings. My life was boring in the safest way possible. I lived with my mom and younger sister in a 2-story house near the edge of a neighborhood where every lawn looked the same. I walked to school most mornings because it was only 15 minutes away, and I usually walked with the same group of friends. Marcus, Tyler, Jaden, and Eli. We weren't popular exactly, but we weren't invisible either. We were the kind of guys who sat together at lunch, made dumb jokes too loud in the hallway, shared homework answers, and spent weekends playing basketball at the park until it got too dark to see the rim. Marcus was my closest friend out of all of them. We'd known each other since 6th grade. He was the loud one, always laughing, always recording something for Snapchat. Tyler was quieter, but he had this dry sense of humor that made everything funnier. Jaden was the type who acted like nothing scared him. Eli was newer to the group, but he fit in fast. Back then, I trusted them completely. That's probably what still bothers me the most. The first time I caught them taking a picture of me, we were in the cafeteria. It was a rainy Tuesday, and the whole school smelled like wet jackets and fries. I was sitting at our usual table, half listening to Marcus talk about some fight that almost happened in gym, when I noticed Tyler holding his phone slightly above his tray. Not pointed at his food, pointed at me. I looked up right as he tapped the screen. "Did you just take a picture of me?" I asked. Tyler smiled like I'd caught him doing something stupid, not weird. "Bro, relax. You look dead inside." It was funny. Marcus laughed. "You always look dead inside." I rolled my eyes and went back to eating. It was nothing. Friends took ugly pictures of each other all the time. Half my camera roll was pictures of Marcus sleeping in class with his mouth open. So I let it go. But after that, I started noticing it more. A week later, Jaden took a picture of me while I was getting books from my locker. I heard the tiny click sound, turned around, and saw him lower his phone too quickly. "What now?" I said. He grinned. "Your backpack was open." It wasn't. Then Eli did it during English when I was staring out the window. Marcus did it while we were walking home. Tyler did it from across the courtyard. Always quick. Always when they thought I wasn't looking. At first, I tried to make a joke out of it. "Are you guys making a scrapbook or something?" Marcus smirked. "Yeah, it's called Caleb, the Decline." That was my name, Caleb Morris. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, because that's what you do when you don't want to seem bothered. But I was bothered, not scared yet, just uncomfortable in this slow, itchy way, like when you know someone is staring at you from across a room, but you can't prove it. One Friday afternoon, I was walking home alone because Marcus said he had to stay after school. The rain had finally stopped, but everything was still damp. Cars hissed over wet pavement. The sky was that flat gray color that made the whole town feel washed out. I passed the glass front of a closed hair salon, and for some reason, I looked at my reflection. I almost stopped walking. Something was wrong with it. Not obviously wrong. Not movie wrong. Just faint. The glass showed the street behind me, the parked cars, the telephone poles, the cloudy sky. And there I was in the middle of it, but lighter than everything else. Like someone had lowered the opacity on me. I stepped closer. My reflection stepped closer too, but it looked delayed. Maybe half a second. Maybe less. I blinked. It blinked. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but the whisper of footsteps from somewhere behind me made me freeze. Every nerve screaming that I was not imagining this. I turned around. No one was there. Just the sidewalk, wet leaves stuck to the concrete, and the quiet row of houses beyond the street. I told myself it was the glass. Old windows do weird things. Reflections bend. Light changes. I was tired. Still, I didn't look into another window the whole way home. That night, Marcus texted the group chat. "Marcus, park tomorrow?" "Tyler, yeah." "Jaden, Caleb better not bail." "Me, why would I bail?" "Eli, ick. You've been acting weird." I stared at that message longer than I should have. You've been acting weird. The thing was, I hadn't said anything to them yet. Not really. I hadn't told them about the reflection. I hadn't told them I noticed the photos more than once. So why did Eli say that? The next day at the park, everything felt normal at first. The court was still slick from rain, so we didn't play long. We mostly sat on the benches near the baseball field, drinking cheap gas station soda and throwing pebbles at a trash can. Then Marcus pulled out his phone. I watched him angle it toward me. This time, I didn't pretend not to notice. "Stop," I said. He looked up. "Stop what?" "Taking pictures of me." There was a little pause. Not long. Just enough. Tyler glanced at Marcus. Jaden looked down at his shoes. Eli smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Marcus laughed. "Dude, you're actually getting mad? Because it's weird. It's a joke." "What's the joke?" No one answered right away. The street looked ordinary, quiet, even comforting, but my gut told me something was off. I'd learned too late that danger often wears a friendly face. Marcus finally stood up and shoved his phone into his mouth. "You're being dramatic. Then show me your camera." His face changed. Just for a second. Then he laughed at me. "No, that's weird. What's weird is you guys taking pictures of me every day." Tyler mumbled. "It's not every day." That was the first thing that really scared me. Because I hadn't said every day as a fact. I'd said it because I was angry. But Tyler corrected me like he knew the schedule. I walked home after that, pretending I wasn't shaking. For the next few days, they acted normal. Too normal. Marcus saved me a seat at lunch. Jaden asked if I wanted to come over Friday. Tyler sent memes like nothing happened. Eli even apologized, sort of. "We didn't mean to make you uncomfortable," he said outside chemistry. "Marcus just takes things too far sometimes." I nodded because I wanted to believe him. That's the thing about fake friends. They don't always act cruel. Sometimes they act kind in exactly the way you need them to. By Wednesday, I almost convinced myself I'd overreacted. Then I saw the group chat. It happened during history class. Marcus sat in front of me. He asked to borrow my charger, and when he plugged in his phone, he left it on his desk. A notification lit up his screen. The chat name was just a black circle emoji. Below it was a message from Tyler. Tyler, got one from today. He's worse. My stomach tightened. Marcus was bent over his notebook, not looking. I knew I shouldn't touch his phone. I knew there was no good reason that wouldn't end badly. But then another message came in. Eli, send it. My hand moved before I could talk myself out of it. I tapped the notification. No passcode. Marcus never used one. The chat opened. There were hundreds of pictures of me. Not 10, not 20, hundreds. Me at lunch, me at my locker, me walking home, me sitting in class, me standing in the hallway, me in the background of other people's photos, me through windows, me from behind trees, me outside my own house, taking the trash bins to the curb. I couldn't breathe. Every picture had a caption. Too early. Still full. Not hollow yet. Left hand fading. He looked at glass today. Almost ready. There was one from that morning. I was standing near the bathroom mirror at school, washing my hands. The angle was from the doorway, like someone had taken it without stepping inside. The caption under it said, "Reflection down to 43%. My heart sank into my stomach as the classroom door clicked shut behind someone behind me, and I realized I was completely alone at the back of the room with Marcus's phone in my hand. "Caleb?" Marcus's voice was quiet. I looked up. He was staring at me. Not angry, not surprised, sad, like he'd been expecting this and wished I'd waited longer. "What is this?" I whispered. He reached for the phone. "Give it back." I stood so fast my chair scraped the floor. People looked over. Marcus whispered, "Don't make a scene." "What did you do to me?" His eyes flicked toward the teacher, then back to me. "You weren't supposed to see it yet." I backed away, still holding the phone. That's when Jaden appeared by the classroom door. Then Tyler. Then Eli. All three of them standing there, blocking the exit like they had rehearsed it. The teacher looked up from her desk. "Boys, is there a problem?" Marcus smiled without looking away from me. "No, Mrs. Campbell. Caleb just feels sick." "I'm not sick," I said, but my voice cracked. Eli stepped inside. "You look sick." I ran. I shoved past Tyler hard enough that he hit the doorframe. Someone shouted. I heard chairs move, heard Marcus call my name, but I didn't stop. I ran through the hall, down the stairs, past the office. I didn't care who saw me. I didn't care if I got suspended. I pushed through the front doors into the cold afternoon air and kept running until the school disappeared behind me. I didn't go home right away. I went to the library downtown because it was public and quiet and full of adults. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped Marcus's phone 3 times. I locked myself in a bathroom stall and kept scrolling. The farther back I went, the worse it got. The first pictures were from 3 months earlier. Normal pictures. Me laughing, me eating, me sleeping on Marcus's couch during a movie night. Then the caption started. First dose worked. He didn't notice. Check mirrors. Don't let him be alone too long. I stopped on a video. It was recorded in Marcus's basement. I recognized the old couch, the posters, the half-broken lamp in the corner. I was asleep. All 4 of them were standing around me. Marcus held a small glass bottle above my face. Tyler whispered, "Are you sure?" Eli said, "My brother did it last year. He's fine now." Jaden laughed nervously. "Define fine." Then Marcus tipped the bottle. Something dark fell onto my forehead. Not liquid exactly. More like ash. In the video, I stirred but didn't wake up. The screen went black. I sat in that bathroom stall with one hand over my mouth, trying not to make a sound. I remembered that night. I'd slept over at Marcus's house after his birthday. I remembered waking up with a headache and a weird metallic taste in my mouth. Marcus said I probably drank too much soda and crashed. I believed him. Of course I believed him. My phone started buzzing in my pocket. Mom. Then Marcus. Then Tyler. Then a number I didn't know. A text came through from Marcus. Please come back. We can explain. Then another. It's not supposed to hurt. Then Eli. You're making it worse by being scared. I turned Marcus's phone off and called my mom. When she answered, I started crying so hard I could barely talk. I told her I was at the library. I told her not to let anyone inside the house. I told her my friends had done something to me. She kept asking what I meant. I didn't know how to explain it without sounding insane. So I said, please just come get me. While I waited by the library entrance, I saw my reflection in the glass doors. This time, there was barely anything there. My hoodie showed faintly. My face was pale and thin like fog. Behind me, the bookshelves were sharp and real. I lifted my hand. The reflection lifted its hand too, but not all the way. Its fingers stopped halfway like it got tired. I could feel my pulse in my ears, my hands trembling, as I fumbled for the door handle to get away from the glass. Every second felt stretched, like time itself was conspiring against me. Then the reflection smiled. I didn't. I stumbled back so hard I almost fell. My mom's car pulled up a minute later, and I got in before she fully stopped. She took one look at my face and didn't ask questions until we were home. I showed her the chat. At least I tried to, but Marcus's phone was dead. No matter what charger we used, it wouldn't turn on. My mom called Marcus's mother, then Tyler's, then the school. By the next morning, all four boys came. Marcus said I stole his phone and made up a story. Tyler said I'd been acting crazy. Jaden said I threatened him. Eli said he was worried about my mental health. The school counselor called me in. The principal said they had no evidence of any group chat. My mom believed me. I know she did, but belief isn't the same as proof. For 2 days, she kept me home. She checked my temperature, asked if I'd eaten, watched me like I might disappear when she blinked. And maybe she wasn't wrong, because mirrors got worse. The bathroom mirror stopped showing my eyes clearly. The hallway mirror showed my outline, but not my mouth. The black screen of my laptop showed the room behind me, but not me at all unless I moved. On the third night, I woke up to tapping on my bedroom window. My room was on the second floor. Tap, tap, tap. I lay still, staring into the dark. At first I thought it was a branch, but there wasn't a tree close enough to touch my window. Then my phone lit up. A message from an unknown number. Look outside. I didn't move. Another message. We're sorry. Then another. It's almost done anyway. I slowly turned my head. There were 4 faces outside my window. Marcus, Tyler, Jaden, Eli. They were standing on the roof over the porch, pressed close together, their faces pale in the moonlight. Marcus raised one hand. He was holding his phone. Flash. A picture. I screamed. My mom ran in. My sister started crying from her room. By the time my mom threw open the curtains, they were gone. Just wet footprints on the shingles outside and a ladder leaning against the side of the house. That was enough for the police to take it seriously. Not the reflection thing. Not the chat. Not the ash in the video I couldn't prove existed. But 4 boys climbing onto a roof at night to photograph someone through a window? That they understood. The police questioned them. Their parents were furious. The boys claimed it was a prank. A stupid prank. They said I'd been acting different, and they wanted to scare me. They got suspended. For a while, that was all. My family stayed with my aunt for 2 weeks. My mom put cameras around the house. I stopped walking anywhere alone. I stopped looking at mirrors unless I had to. Then, one night, an envelope appeared on our porch. No stamp. No name. Inside was a printed photo. It showed me standing with Marcus, Tyler, Jaden, and Eli in the school courtyard. All 5 of us were smiling. Marcus had his arm around my shoulders. Tyler was giving a thumbs up. Jaden and Eli were laughing. It looked normal. That was the worst part. It looked like a memory I should have had. But I'd never taken that picture. I knew I hadn't, because the photo was dated the day before. The day before, I had been at my aunt's house, 3 towns over, sitting at her kitchen table, while my mom talked to a police officer on speakerphone. I flipped the picture over. On the back, someone had written, "Finished." I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Marcus texted me from his real number. Just one message. "You were there. You just don't remember yet." I changed schools after that. My mom didn't argue. She didn't tell me I was being dramatic. She packed my things, deleted my social media, changed my number, and drove me to a therapist twice a week for months. I'm 19 now. I don't talk to any of them. I don't know where Tyler went. I heard Jaden moved after graduation. Eli disappeared from social media completely. Marcus still lives in town, last I heard. Sometimes I tell myself they were just sick, that it was some elaborate prank that got out of hand, that the pictures, the captions, the roof, the envelope, all of it was just cruelty dressed up as something supernatural. I want to believe that, but I still don't show up right in mirrors. Not always. Most days I look normal. Some days, especially when I'm tired, my reflection looks thin around the edges, like a weak signal, like something unfinished. And sometimes, when someone takes a picture of me without warning, I feel this cold pull in my chest. Because in photos, I always look clearer than I do in real life. Sharper, happier, like the version of me inside the picture knows something I don't. Even after escaping, even with the safety of police lights behind me and my mother locking every door in the house, a small, cold part of me couldn't stop replaying the face I saw in that library glass. My face, smiling when I wasn't, and I keep thinking about the last photo in that envelope. All 5 of us together, all 5 of us smiling, and the longer I look at it, the more I'm starting to remember being there. I didn't notice the chair on my first day. That sounds stupid now because when I think back on that cafeteria, the chair is the only thing I can see clearly. Not the banners hanging from the ceiling, not the vending machines humming by the gym doors, not the smell of fries and disinfectant that somehow lived in the walls of Westbridge High. Just that chair, plastic, gray, scratched along the backrest, always pulled out slightly from the table like someone had just gotten up and was about to come back. My name is Eli. I was 17 when this happened, and I had just moved to a small town in Pennsylvania halfway through senior year, which is pretty much the worst possible time to start over. Everyone already had their groups, their history, their private jokes, their grudges, their seating arrangements. I didn't expect to make friends fast. Honestly, I didn't expect to make friends at all. So when Marcus waved me over on my 3rd day, I thought I'd gotten lucky. He was one of those guys everyone seemed to know, loud in a charming way. Basketball hoodie, easy smile, the kind of person teachers pretended to be annoyed by but secretly liked. He sat with 4 others, Jenna, Tori, Blake, and Simon. They weren't exactly mean popular. They were worse than that. They were friendly popular. The kind who could make you feel chosen just by saying your name. "New guy," Marcus called, tapping the table. "You sitting alone again?" I looked behind me like there might be another new guy. Jenna laughed. "Yes, you. Come here." So I did, and that was the first time I saw the empty chair. Their table sat 6 people comfortably, maybe 7 if everyone squeezed. 5 of them were there. I made 6, but there was one chair on the far end, untouched, with a red lunch tray placed in front of it. On the tray were an unopened milk carton, a bag of chips, and a slice of school pizza. I started to pull the chair out. The whole table went silent. Not quiet, silent. Marcus's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist hard enough to make me stop. "Not that one," he said. I laughed because I thought it was a joke. "Okay, reserved seating." Tori's face had gone pale. Blake wouldn't look at me. Simon was staring down at the table like he was trying to disappear through it. Jenna forced a smile and patted the chair beside her. "Sit here." I did. For the rest of lunch, everyone acted normal. Too normal. They asked where I was from, what classes I had, if I played sports, if I hated the town. Marcus stole fries off Jim's plate. Blake did a bad impression of me. Simon barely spoke, but he did. By the time the bell rang, I had almost forgotten the weird moment. Almost. As we stood up, I glanced at the tray in front of the empty chair. The bag of chips was open. I knew it hadn't been before. I told myself someone had grabbed it when I wasn't looking. That was the reasonable explanation. That's what people do when something strange happens. They pick the explanation that lets them sleep. The next day, they waved me over again. Same table, same seats, same empty chair. This time there was a chocolate milk, a chicken sandwich, and a small paper bowl of peaches sitting in front of it. I sat beside Jenna without being told. Smart, Blake said under his breath. What? He blinked, then smiled too fast. Nothing. Just saying you're learning the lunchroom politics. I looked toward the empty chair. So who sits there? Nobody answered. The cafeteria noise seemed to swell around us. Forks scraping trays. Someone laughing too loudly near the windows. Sneakers squeaking across the floor. Then Simon said, very quietly, "Don't ask that." Marcus kicked him under the table. I saw it. Simon flinched. Jenna leaned closer to me and lowered her voice. "It's just a stupid tradition. Every friend group has one." "What tradition?" "We don't mention the empty chair," she said. She smiled after saying it, like that made it less strange. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but something about the way they all avoided looking at that chair made me freeze a little inside. Over the next week, I became part of them. That's the part one hates admitting. I liked it. I liked having people save me a seat. I liked walking into class and hearing Marcus call my name. I liked Jenna texting me homework answers with 3 laughing emojis. I liked that Tori added me to their group chat called Table Rats. I liked not feeling invisible, and the chair stayed there. Every lunch, a tray was placed in front of it, always something different, always untouched at first. And every day little things disappeared. A bite out of a sandwich, a straw pushed into a milk carton, half a cookie gone. Once, I watched a grape roll slowly off the tray and drop onto the floor beneath the table. Nobody reacted. I whispered, "Did you guys see that?" Jenna didn't look up from her phone. "See what?" The street looked ordinary, quiet, even comforting, but my gut told me something was off. I'd learned too late that danger often wears a friendly face. It wasn't just lunch. The chair started showing up in other places. Not literally at first. Just the idea of it. We'd be walking home, and Marcus would leave a gap in the group, like someone else was supposed to be between him and Blake. At the movies, Tori bought 7 tickets, even though there were 6 of us. When I asked why, she said, "Habit." At Jenna's house, during a Friday night hangout, I noticed an extra soda on the coffee table. Nobody touched it. By midnight, it was empty. That was the night I finally pushed. We were in Jenna's basement. Her parents were upstairs. The others were sprawled around the room, half watching some horror movie none of us were paying attention to. I said, "Who was it?" The room went still. Marcus muted the TV. "Who is what?" he asked. "The person the chair is for." Simon shut his eyes. Jenna whispered, "Eli, don't." But I was tired of feeling crazy. "You all act like there's someone missing," I said. "So who is it?" Tori stood up so quickly her soda spilled. "I'm going upstairs." Marcus grabbed her sleeve. "Sit down." "No, I'm not doing this again." Again. That word landed in my stomach like a stone. Blake rubbed his hands over his face. "Just tell him enough so he shuts up." Marcus glared at him. Simon looked at me then. Really looked at me. His eyes were red, like he hadn't slept in days. "His name was Noah," he said. The name seemed to make the room colder. Jenna covered her mouth. Simon kept talking, faster now, like if he stopped he'd lose the nerve. "He used to sit with us freshman year. He was our friend. Then something happened." "What happened?" Nobody answered. Marcus stood. "That's enough." Simon laughed once, bitterly. "No, it's not. It's never enough. That's the whole point." Marcus crossed the room and shoved him back against the couch. Not hard enough to hurt him badly, but enough to shut him up. I stood too. "What is wrong with you?" Marcus turned to me, and for the first time, his smile was completely gone. "You should be grateful," he said. "You have no idea how lucky you are we let you in." I left after that. Jenna texted me 26 times before midnight. Don't listen to Simon. Marcus gets weird about old stuff. We're sorry. Please come to lunch Monday. The last text came at 2:13 a.m. You're part of us now. That matters. I didn't answer. Monday I sat alone. I know that sounds like a small thing, but after 2 weeks of being included, sitting alone felt worse than before. People noticed. Marcus kept looking at me from their table. Jenna looked like she might cry. The empty chair sat between them, tray waiting. I tried to focus on my food. Then something hit the table in front of me. A grape. I stared at it. It was wet, like someone had just taken it from their mouth. Slowly, I looked toward their table. The empty chair was facing me. Not the table. Me. My heart sank into my stomach as the cafeteria doors clicked shut behind a group of students leaving. And for one sharp second I felt completely alone. Someone was watching, and I had no way out. I left my lunch and went to the bathroom. I locked myself in a stall and tried to breathe. That was when I heard the door open. Shoes stepped onto the tile. Not sneakers, not boots. A soft dragging sound. Then a voice whispered, "You sat with them." It was a boy's voice. Young. Flat. Clothes. I covered my mouth. The footsteps dragged past the stalls. You asked my name. I could feel my pulse in my ears, my hands trembling as I fumbled for my phone. Every second felt stretched, like time itself was conspiring against me. I texted Jenna. What did you do to Noah? 3 dots appeared almost instantly, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, come back to the table. Please. It's safer there. The stall door in front of me trembled. Not like someone kicked it, like someone leaned their forehead against it. The voice whispered, "They always bring me someone new." I ran. I didn't care who saw me. I shoved past 2 guys at the sinks, burst into the hallway, and kept going until I reached the main office. I told them I felt sick and called my mom. I didn't tell her about the voice. I didn't know how. That night, Simon messaged me privately. He sent one sentence, "Don't come tomorrow." Then another, "They chose you." I called him immediately. He answered but didn't speak at first. "What does that mean?" I asked. His breathing shook through the phone. It means last year it was supposed to be me. What are you talking about? Noah was our friend. He messed with me. Not like a prank. Worse. He made him think everyone hated him. He made fake accounts, sent messages, turned people against him. Marcus said it would be funny. His voice cracked. One day Noah came to school, sat down at lunch, and didn't say anything. He just stared at us. Then he got up and walked out. Nobody saw him leave the building. Nobody saw him again. I sat on the edge of my bed, cold all over. "The school said he ran away," Simon whispered. "But that chair showed up the next day." "What do you mean showed up?" "It was just there, at our table. We tried moving it. It came back. We tried ignoring it. Then things started happening. Notes in lockers. Food disappearing. Pictures of us taken from behind. Why didn't you tell someone?" "We did. Nobody believed us." Then Noah started asking for a replacement. My mouth went dry. "Every year," Simon said, "someone new has to sit there by the end of homecoming week. Someone lonely. Someone nobody will fight too hard to keep. If we don't bring one..." He stopped. "What?" "You hear him everywhere. You see him in windows. And then one of us disappears instead." I wanted to tell him he was insane, but I kept seeing that grape on my table, hearing that voice against the stall door. "Why me?" I asked. Simon didn't answer. I already knew. Because I was new. Because I was alone. Because I was grateful. Because fake friends know exactly what hunger looks like when it isn't about food. The next day I stayed home. So did Simon, apparently. By noon, Jenna was calling me. Marcus was texting. Torai sent crying messages saying I didn't understand, that they didn't have a choice, that it wasn't personal. Not personal. That phrase made me laugh in a way that scared me. Around 3, there was a knock on my front door. My mom was at work. I looked through the peephole. Jenna stood on the porch. She looked awful. No makeup, hair messy, eyes swollen. "Eli," she called softly. Please open the door. I just want to talk. I didn't move. Behind her, at the end of my driveway, Marcus sat in his car with the engine running. Then Jenna stepped aside, and I saw the chair. It was on my porch, the gray plastic chair from the cafeteria, pulled out slightly, waiting. I backed away from the door. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Open the door and sit down. Then another. Don't make this harder. The doorknob turned. I had locked it, but it still turned. Slowly, back and forth. Jenna was crying now. I'm sorry, she whispered through the door. I really am. The lock clicked. I don't know how to explain the sound of your own front door unlocking when nobody inside touches it. It doesn't feel real. Your brain rejects it at first. It tells you locks don't do that. Doors don't choose sides. I grabbed the heavy ceramic lamp from the entry table and ran to the kitchen. The door opened behind me. Not all the way. Just enough for the house to fill with cold air. Jenna said, Eli? Then another voice right beside her whispered, he knows my name. I didn't look back. I ran out the side door barefoot, across our wet lawn, and straight to the neighbor's house. I slammed on their door until Mr. Alvarez opened it, startled and holding a dish towel. I must have looked insane, because he pulled me inside before I even finished saying, someone's in my house. Police came. By then, Jenna and Marcus were gone. So was the chair. My front door was locked again. The officers found nothing inside except muddy footprints in the entryway. Bare footprints, too small to be Marcus's, too old-looking to be Jenna's. When the police questioned the group at school, they denied everything. Said I'd been acting weird. Said I was obsessed with some old rumor about a runaway student. Simon didn't come back to school after that. His parents said he was staying with relatives. I don't know if that was true. Homecoming week ended on Friday. That morning, I walked into the cafeteria with every plan to avoid them forever. Then I saw the empty chair at their table. No tray in front of it this time. Just the chair, facing the entrance, facing me. And I understood, with a calmness that still makes me sick, that running wasn't going to be enough. Because lonely people are easy to find. I had been one. That was why they chose me. So I did the thing I still hate myself for. There was a sophomore sitting alone near the vending machines. Small kid, oversized hoodie, headphones on, picking at fries without eating them. I had seen him around. He never talked to anyone. I walked over. Hey, I said, forcing my voice not to shake. You want to sit with us? He looked up like he couldn't believe I meant him. Really? I smiled. It felt exactly like Marcus's smile had felt on my third day. Yeah, I said. Come on. We've got room. As he followed me back, Jenna stared at me with horror. Tori started crying. Blake looked away. Marcus just watched me. For the first time, he looked proud. The sophomore reached for the empty chair. No one stopped him. He sat down. The cafeteria noise faded for 1 second. Just one. Then the milk carton on the tray in front of him bent inward, like someone unseen had taken a long, satisfied drink. That was 3 years ago. I graduated. I moved out of town. I don't speak to any of them now, but sometimes I still check Westbridge High's social media page. New year, new students, new lunch photos, same cafeteria, and in every picture of that popular table, there's always one empty chair, pulled out slightly, waiting. I wish I could tell you I was different from them. I wish I could say fear doesn't change what kind of person you are. But the truth is, when I saw that lonely kid sitting by himself, I didn't see a person. I saw a way out. I noticed the first time during lunch, which is probably why I didn't take it seriously. My name is Mara. I was 17 when this happened, and at the time I lived in a small town in western Pennsylvania, where nothing interesting ever happened unless someone's dad got arrested, someone's basement flooded, or a deer wandered into traffic and shut down the main road. I went to Ridgemont High, a brick building with bad heating, flickering hallway lights, and a cafeteria that always smelled like fries, wet jackets, and disinfectant. My life was boring in the way most high school lives are boring. I had homework, part-time shifts at a frozen yogurt place, a mom who texted too much, and a best friend named Elise who knew almost everything about me. Almost. Elise and I had been friends since 5th grade. She lived 3 streets over. We used to ride bikes until sunset, make stupid videos on my old tablet, and sleep over so much that our parents stopped asking whose house we were staying at. She was the louder one, the confident one, the one who could talk to teachers like they were regular people and walk into a room like she owned part of it. I was quieter, not shy exactly, just careful. I thought before I spoke. Elise used to tease me, buffer before every sentence, and I'd laugh because it was true. That day at lunch, I was trying to tell her about Mr. Bell. I had barely opened my mouth when Elise said, "He moved it because nobody studied and half the class failed the practice one." I blinked at her. That's literally what I was about to say. She grinned, stabbing her fork into a piece of lettuce. "I know you too well." At first, it felt harmless. Kind of funny. Best friend stuff. A few minutes later, I started to say, "After school, I need to go to the library and print your English essay because your printer jammed again," she said. I stopped with my mouth still open. She laughed harder that time. "Your face." I wanted to laugh too. I did, actually, but it came out late. "How did you know that?" "You told me yesterday." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." I stared at her, trying to remember. Maybe I had. Maybe I'd complained about the printer while we were walking home. Maybe I just forgot. That was the easiest explanation, and at 17, you take the easy explanation when it's offered. So I let it go, but then it kept happening. Not all at once. That would have been easier to notice. It came in small, weird little moments that could pass for coincidence if you wanted them to. In math class, I reached for my pencil, and Elise slid one across the desk before I asked. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone to text her, and she appeared beside my locker, breathing a little fast, saying, I know. You need help with the lab report." One night, I sat on my bed, staring at a half-written message to her. "Do you ever feel like everyone is pretending to like you?" I deleted it before sending. I never told anyone that thought. Not my mom, not my sister, not even Elise. The next morning, Elise was waiting for me outside school, leaning against the bike rack in her oversized gray hoodie. Before I could say hi, she smiled softly and said, "People aren't pretending to like you, Mara. You're just tired." The street looked ordinary, quiet, even comforting, but my gut told me something was off. I'd learned too late that danger often wears a friendly face. I froze on the sidewalk. "What did you just say?" Her smile didn't move. "I said you looked tired." "No, before that." She tilted her head like she was confused. "I didn't say anything before that. I wanted to argue, but people were walking around us, laughing, slamming car doors, dragging backpacks over one shoulder. The normal noise of morning swallowed the moment whole. I told myself I must have dreamed it, or misheard her, or maybe I had accidentally sent the text and forgotten. I checked my phone 3 times during first period. There was no message. After that, I started testing her. Small things at first. I would think of something random, like purple notebook or apple juice, or I should cut my hair, and then I'd watch her. Most of the time, nothing happened. She'd just keep scrolling on her phone or talking about whatever drama was happening in our group chat. But sometimes her eyes would flick to me. Just once. Like she heard something far away. One afternoon in the library, I sat across from her pretending to study. Rain tapped against the tall windows, and the old radiator hissed beside our table. Elise was highlighting biology notes with a yellow marker. I looked down at my page and thought, as clearly as I could, "Don't say anything if you can hear me." Elise's marker stopped moving. The air between us changed. She didn't look up right away. She capped the marker slowly, folded her hands over her notebook, and smiled at the page. Then she whispered, "That's not fair." My heart sank into my stomach as the door clicked shut behind a librarian leaving the room, and I realized we were almost completely alone. Someone was watching, and I had no way out. I pushed back from the table so fast the chair legs scraped the floor. Elise looked up then. Her expression was normal again. "What?" I didn't answer. I grabbed my bag and left. For 2 days, I avoided her. I ate lunch in a bathroom stall. I took the long way to classes. I told my mom I had extra homework, so I wouldn't have to walk home with Elise. And the whole time, my phone kept buzzing. Mara, are you mad? You're being weird. I know you're scared. That last one made my hands go cold. I didn't reply. On Thursday night, my mom worked late, and my older sister was at her boyfriend's. I was home alone, sitting at the kitchen table with the TV on low, trying to convince myself I wasn't afraid of my best friend. At 8:13, the doorbell rang. I knew it was Elise before I checked the peephole. She stood on the porch under the yellow light, hood up, hair damp from the rain. She wasn't holding an umbrella. She just stood there, still and patient, like she had all night. I didn't open the door. My phone buzzed. Please don't make this worse. I backed away from the door. Another buzz. I already know you're standing by the stairs. I looked down at my feet. I was. A soft knock followed. Not loud, not angry. Just 3 gentle taps. Mara, she called through the door. I'm not trying to hurt you. Her voice sounded like the same Elise I'd known forever. The girl who made fun of my music. The girl who cried when her dog died. The girl who once walked 2 miles in the snow because I had the flu and wanted orange popsicles. That was the worst part. I wanted to believe her. What is happening? I asked, my voice barely carrying. There was a pause. Then she said, we're connected. I swallowed. That's not an answer. It's the only one that makes sense. No, it doesn't. The porch boards creaked as she shifted closer to the door. You always needed someone to go first, she said. Even when we were kids. First day of school, first sleepover, first time talking to people. I did it for you. I made things easier. That's not what this is. It is, she said, and her voice sharpened just a little. You don't understand how much I've carried. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but the whisper of footsteps from the porch made me freeze, every nerve screaming that I was not imagining this. Elise, go home. I can't. Why? Another pause. When she answered, her voice was softer. Because tomorrow already happened. I stood there gripping my phone, staring at the lock on the door. She kept talking. At first I thought it was dreams. I'd wake up and know what you were going to wear, what you were going to say, who would call on you in class. Then I realized I wasn't dreaming. I was there, one day ahead, living it before you did. I didn't move. And every time I helped you, she said, every time I said the right thing before you could mess it up, people liked you more. Teachers noticed you. Your mom worried less. You got better. My throat tightened. You're scaring me. I made you better, she whispered. No. Yes. The doorknob turned. I stepped back so fast I nearly tripped. It didn't open. I had locked it, but seeing the knob move slowly, carefully, like someone testing how much force it would take, made something primal wake up in me. I called my mom. No answer. I called my sister. No answer. Then I dialed 9. The moment the operator picked up, police stopped turning. I told them someone was trying to get into my house. I didn't say it was my best friend. I didn't know how to explain that without sounding insane. By the time police lights washed blue and red across our living room walls, Elise was gone. The officers checked the porch, the side yard, the street. Nothing. No footprints clear enough to matter. No damage. No proof except me shaking in my socks and a string of messages on my phone that sounded creepy, but not illegal enough for anyone to do much. One officer, a tired-looking woman with kind eyes, asked if Elise had threatened me. I looked at the messages. Please don't make this worse. I know you're standing by the stairs. Tomorrow already happened. No, I said. Not exactly. She told me to block her, stay with someone if I felt unsafe, and call again if Elise came back. My mom cried when she got home. She thought Elise was having some kind of breakdown. She called Elise's mother, but no one answered. The next day at school, Elise wasn't there. For the first time in weeks, I breathed normally. Then second period started. My English teacher, Ms. Rayner, handed back our essays. When she got to my desk, she frowned. Mara, I need to speak with you after class. My stomach dropped. Why? She lowered her voice. You submitted 2 essays. I stared at her. No, I didn't. She placed them on my desk. The first was mine, printed at the library, stapled crookedly, with a small ink smudge on the corner. The second was also mine. Same title, same name, same class period, but it was better. Not just edited, better in the way someone becomes better after knowing exactly what they did wrong the first time. Cleaner sentences, stronger conclusion, every mistake fixed before I had made it. At the top, in red pen, Ms. Rayner had written, "Excellent revision, Mara. This is your strongest work yet." I could feel my pulse in my ears, my hands trembling as I fumbled for the papers. Every second felt stretched, like time itself was conspiring against me. Where did this come from? I asked. Ms. Rayner looked confused. You turned it in before school. No, I didn't. Mara, I saw you. The room seemed to tilt. What was I wearing? She glanced at me, uncomfortable now. Your uniform. Our school didn't technically have uniforms. Not full ones. But seniors in the medical prep program had a required outfit on presentation days. White blouse, navy skirt, blazer with the school crest. I had one hanging in my closet for our Friday presentation. I hadn't worn it that day, but Elise knew where I kept it. I left school early. I told the nurse I felt sick, which wasn't even a lie. When I got home, the front door was unlocked. I stood on the porch for a long moment with my hand hovering over the knob. My mom always locked the door. Always. Even if she was just taking trash outside. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. No TV. No dishwasher. No hum from my sister's hair dryer upstairs. Just the soft ticking of the kitchen clock. Elise. I called. Nothing. I should have left. I know that now. I should have gone to a neighbor's house or called the police from the driveway. Instead, I walked in. The first thing I noticed was my backpack on the kitchen chair. Not the one on my shoulder. Another one. Same worn-out keychain. Same ink stain near the zipper. Same little rip on the front pocket from when it got caught on a locker. I set my real backpack down beside it with shaking hands. The second thing I noticed was the smell. My shampoo. My vanilla body spray. My laundry detergent. Like someone had opened every drawer in my room and stepped fully into my life. Upstairs, floorboards creaked. I stopped breathing. A voice drifted down from my bedroom. You're early. It was Elise. I forced myself up the stairs one step at a time. My legs felt wrong, like they belonged to someone else. At the top, my bedroom door was open. She was sitting at my desk, wearing my medical prep uniform, my blazer, my blouse, my skirt, even my shoes. Her hair was parted the way I wore mine. She had used my lip gloss. My silver necklace rested against her throat. On the desk in front of her was my planner, open to Friday, filled with handwriting that looked almost exactly like mine. She turned in my chair and smiled. Not Elise's smile. Mine. You're late, she said. I already did today for you. For a second, I couldn't speak. My brain wouldn't let the scene become real. Then I saw the wall behind her. Photos, notes, schedules, screenshots of my texts, printed copies of my essays with corrections written in the margins, a calendar marked with small red X's, each one day ahead. At the center was a photo of me sleeping, taken from the corner of my room. My knees almost gave out. Elise, I whispered. What did you do? Her face tightened like I'd insulted her. I fixed things. You broke into my house. I had to practice. Practice what? She stood slowly. Being you. The words landed flat and cold. I backed toward the hallway. She stepped forward. You don't even appreciate it, she said. Do you know how many times I saved you from saying something stupid? From wearing the wrong thing? From embarrassing yourself? I lived through every bad version first. Elise, you need help. Her eyes changed when I said that. Not angry exactly. Hurt, which somehow scared me more. You sound like my mom. What? She said I was obsessed with you. Elise laughed once, sharp and empty. She said I needed distance. But she doesn't get it. Nobody gets it. You and I were supposed to be one life. You were just always slower getting there. I ran. I didn't plan it. I just moved. She grabbed for my arm and caught my sleeve, but the fabric slipped through her fingers. I hit the stairs too fast, stumbled halfway down, slammed my shoulder into the wall, and kept going. Behind me, Elise screamed my name. Not like she wanted to hurt me, like I had betrayed her. I reached the front door, but the deadbolt was locked from the inside. My hands shook so badly I couldn't turn it. Behind me, footsteps pounded down the stairs. Mara, stop! I got the lock open just as she reached the hallway. I threw myself outside barefoot because I had lost one shoe somewhere on the stairs and sprinted across the lawn to Mrs. Donnelly's house next door. She was an older woman who spent most afternoons watching crime shows and judging everyone's lawns. Thank God for her. She opened the door before I even knocked properly, saw my face, and pulled me inside. Elise stood on my porch across the yard, still wearing my clothes, still breathing hard, still looking more like me than she ever should have. Mrs. Donnelly locked the door and called 911. When police arrived, Elise didn't run. She sat on our front steps with her hands folded in her lap. I found the photos, the copy, the notebook, the spare uniform, the closet. We found messages to herself on her phone, reminders about what I would say, what I would do, where I would be. Her mom later admitted Elise had been struggling for months. She said Elise claimed she was experiencing days before they happened. Doctors called it delusion. Police called it stalking. My mom called it a nightmare. I don't know what to call it, because here's the part one still don't tell people. The essay she turned in before school, the one better than mine, I hadn't written some of those sentences yet. Not badly, not in a draft, not anywhere. They were thoughts I had only had in my head while walking to school. Elise was sent away for treatment. Her family moved before graduation. People at school whispered for a while, then found new things to whisper about. That's how it goes. Even horror becomes gossip if enough time passes. It's been 3 years. I'm in college now. I keep my door locked. I cover my laptop camera. I don't tell people my schedule unless they need to know. I still pause before speaking, but now, when someone finishes my sentence for me, I don't laugh. I look at them, really look, because even after escaping, even with the safety of police lights behind me, a small, cold part of me couldn't stop replaying the face I'd seen through the window that night. The calm, empty eyes that didn't blink. Last month, I got a letter with no return address. Inside was a single page torn from a planner. Tomorrow's date was written at the top. Under it, in handwriting almost exactly like mine, were 3 words. You're behind again. I didn't understand how scary it was to hear someone avoid your name until it happened in a room full of people who supposedly loved me. Not forgot it, not mispronounced it, avoided it, like my name was a bad word, like saying it out loud might make something in the walls wake up. At the time, I was 24, living in a small apartment outside Portland, Oregon, working a boring front desk job at a dental office. My life wasn't exciting, but it was mine. I had my routines. Coffee from the same drive-thru every morning. Phone calls with my mom every Sunday night. A group chat with 4 friends I'd known since college. There was Caleb, who was loud and funny, and always acted like every minor inconvenience was a personal attack. There was Nina, calm and organized, the type who booked reservations 3 weeks early. There was Jordan, who had been my roommate sophomore year. And there was Emma. Emma was the closest thing I had to a best friend. Or at least, I thought she was. The trip was her idea. She texted the group one Monday night and said, "We need a reset weekend. No drama, no phones, just us." That should have been my first warning. Because there had been drama. Not huge drama. Not the kind where people scream and block each other. Just little shifts. Plans I wasn't invited to. Jokes that stopped when I entered the room. Messages that got answered hours later, when before they used to answer in seconds. I told myself everyone was just busy. People grow up. Jobs get stressful. Friendships change. So when Emma called me and said, "Come on, it'll be good for us," I wanted to believe her. The cabin was about 3 hours away, somewhere near Mount Hood. Nina said her uncle owned it, but later I found out that wasn't true. At least, I don't think it was. We drove up Friday evening in Caleb's SUV. Rain tapped against the windows the whole way. The road narrowed as we climbed higher, streetlights disappearing behind us until there was nothing but dark trees and the occasional white blur of fog passing through the headlights. At first, everything felt normal. Caleb complained about the GPS Jordan 8 chips too loudly. Nina kept checking the directions, even though she had no signal. Emma sat beside me in the back seat, her shoulder brushing mine every time the car turned. But there was this weird tension under everything. A silence after every joke. A glance that lasted half a second too long. At one point, Caleb was telling a story about work and said, "You know how he gets when?" Then he stopped. Not paused. Stopped. His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, then to Emma. I laughed awkwardly. "When who gets what?" Caleb cleared his throat. "Never mind. Forgot where I was going with that." The car went quiet again. I looked at Emma, expecting her to roll her eyes or make a joke. Instead, she stared out the window like she hadn't heard anything. I told myself it was nothing. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but the silence in that car had weight. It pressed against my chest harder the closer we got to the cabin. We arrived a little after 9. The cabin sat at the end of a muddy gravel road, surrounded by pine trees so tall they blocked out most of the sky. It was old, 2 stories, with a slanted roof and dark windows. The porch light flickered in a steady rhythm, on and off, like someone blinking slowly. Inside, it smelled like wet wood dust and something faintly metallic. Nina found the breaker. Caleb dragged in the bags. Jordan started a fire. Emma walked around opening curtains, even though there was nothing outside to see except black glass and the reflection of us standing behind her. For about an hour, things almost felt okay. We made pasta. We drank cheap wine. Caleb put music on from a speaker that kept cutting in and out. I started to relax. Then we played a stupid card game. That was when I noticed it for real. Everyone was using names. Jordan, draw 2. Nina, you're cheating. Emma, pass me that. Caleb, shut up. But whenever they talked to me, they didn't say mine. Not once. It was always, "Hey, your turn." Or, "Can you pass that?" Or, "You're up." At first, I thought I was imagining it. Then I tested it. I looked right at Caleb and said, "What's my score?" He glanced at the paper in front of him and smiled too fast. "You're losing." "My name," I said lightly, trying to sound like I was joking. "Put my name next to the score." His smile faded. Nina stopped shuffling. Jordan stared at the cards in his hands. Emma reached under the table and touched my knee. "Don't be weird," she said softly. The way she said it made my skin prickle. I laughed, but it came out thin. "I'm not being weird. I'm asking why nobody has said my name since we got here." No one answered. The fire popped in the fireplace. Rain whispered against the windows. Caleb leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face. "We're just tired, man." "Man. Not my name." I stood up. The chair legs scraped against the wooden floor, too loud in the quiet room. "I'm going to bed," I said. Emma followed me upstairs. The second floor had 3 small bedrooms and a narrow hallway with old framed photos on the wall. Black and white pictures of families standing in front of the cabin. Couples on the porch. Kids near the trees. All of them smiling in that stiff, old photo way. I stopped at one photo because something looked off. There were 5 people in it, but the space between 2 of them was too wide. Someone had been cut out. Not physically cut out, scratched out. Gray, messy blur of a person's face and body. Under the photo, someone had carved names. Thomas, Mary, Ruth, Daniel, and then one part was scraped raw. I touched it. Emma grabbed my wrist. "Don't." My heart gave a hard thump. "What is going on?" I asked. She looked exhausted suddenly. Not scared exactly. "Guilty. Just sleep," she whispered. "Please." Tomorrow will be easier. Tomorrow what will be easier? She didn't answer. That night, I barely slept. The room was cold, and the bed smelled like old blankets. Every time the wind moved through the trees, shadows slid across the ceiling like fingers. Around 2 a.m., I heard whispering. At first, I thought it was downstairs. Then I realized it was right outside my door. I sat up slowly. My phone had no service, but the screen lit up when I grabbed it. The battery was at 17%, even though it had been at 61% when we arrived. I crept to the door and pressed my ear against it. Emma's voice. He's noticing. Nina whispered back. Of course he is. You waited too long. Caleb said something I couldn't make out. Then Jordan, sounding close to tears, said, I don't want to do this. Emma's voice sharpened. You think I do? Silence. Then Nina said, the cabin already started. We can't leave until it finishes. My hands went cold. I stepped back from the door, my pulse hammering in my ears. Then the floorboard under my foot creaked. The whispering stopped. For one horrible second, nobody moved. Then there was a soft knock. Not loud, not aggressive, just 2 gentle taps. Emma said, open the door. I didn't. Another tap. Please, she whispered. Don't make it harder. My heart sank into my stomach as the door clicked softly from the other side, and I realized there was no lock. I grabbed my backpack, shoved my phone inside, and climbed out the window. It sounds dramatic when I say it like that, but it wasn't clean or brave. I panicked. I slipped on the wet roof, scraped my elbow against the shingles, and almost fell before catching the gutter. I dropped into the mud below and landed badly on my ankle. Pain shot up my leg. I bit my sleeve to keep from yelling. The woods were black around me. The rain had slowed to a mist, cold enough to make my fingers numb. Behind me, upstairs, my bedroom light snapped on. Then Emma screamed my name. Actually screamed it, and the whole cabin answered. I don't know how else to explain it. Every window lit up at once. The porch light burst bright white. The trees seemed to lean inward. For 1 second, I heard my name come from everywhere. From Emma's mouth, from inside the walls, from beneath the porch, from the woods behind me. Then it cut off, like someone had pressed mute on the world. I ran. Branches tore at my jacket. Mud sucked at my shoes. My ankle screamed every time I put weight on it, but I kept going because behind me, the cabin door slammed open. Flashlights swept through the trees. Caleb shouted, "Stop running." Jordan yelled, "We can fix this." But Emma didn't yell. That scared me more. I made it maybe 5 minutes before I tripped over a root and went down hard. My backpack flew open, spilling half my things into the leaves. My wallet landed face up. My ID card had been normal that morning. I know it had been. Now my name was scratched out. Not with ink. The plastic itself was gouged, shredded across the letters. My photo was still there, but my name was a gray scar. I stared at it, breathing so hard I thought I might throw up. Then I noticed the notebook beside it. I didn't own a notebook. It was small, brown, soaked from the rain. Inside were lists, dates, places, things crossed out. My name appeared again and again, written in different handwriting. At the coffee shop, barista hesitated. At work, nameplate removed from desk. Mom called him Sweetie instead of name. Group chat, avoided direct tag. I turned the page with trembling fingers. Cabin should accept him by Friday. A sound came from behind me, a twig snapping. I looked up. Emma stood between the trees, her face pale in the beam of her flashlight. "Why?" I asked. It was the only word I could get out. She looked like she might cry. "It picked Caleb first," she said. I shook my head. "What?" "Last year, when we came here, it picked Caleb. We didn't understand until his license changed. His work badge, his emails. People started forgetting his name. His own brother called him Buddy for a week." Caleb appeared behind her, breathing hard, eyes red. Emma looked back at him, then at me. "We found a way to shift it." My mouth went dry. "To me," I said. No one answered. That was answer enough. Jordan came up next, crying openly now. "We didn't want to. We tried other things. I let out a laugh, but it sounded broken. You tried other things? Nina stepped from the darkness, holding the guest book from the cabin. It has to be someone close. Someone whose name has been spoken with love inside the house. That sentence hit me harder than anything else. Because suddenly I understood. They hadn't invited me because we were fixing the friendship. They had been preparing me. The missed plans. The weird group chat pauses. The way Emma had stopped saying my name weeks before and replaced it with hey or you. They weren't drifting away. They were deleting me slowly enough that the world wouldn't notice. I looked at Emma. You were my best friend. Her face crumpled. I'm sorry. The street looked ordinary in my memory when I think back on it now. The drive, the rain, the stupid jokes in the car. Quiet, even comforting. But my gut had told me something was off, and I ignored it because danger doesn't always look like a stranger in an alley. Sometimes it looks like your closest friends asking for one more weekend. I ran again. Not far. My ankle gave out near the gravel road, and I went down on one knee. Behind me, footsteps crashed through the brush. I crawled toward the SUV, sobbing, digging my fingers into the mud. Caleb reached me first and grabbed my jacket. I screamed. Not words, just sound. Then headlights appeared at the end of the road. A truck. An old pickup slowed when the driver saw us. Caleb released me instantly. The truck window rolled down, and an older man leaned out. What the hell is going on? I scrambled toward him. Please help me. Please. They're trying to. My voice stopped, because I couldn't say it. They're trying to erase me. The words were there, but my name wasn't. My reason wasn't. My identity felt like a loose tooth in my mouth. The man looked past me at my friends. Is he drunk? Emma stepped forward, calm now. Too calm. He's having a panic attack, she said. We're taking care of him. The old man frowned at me. I could feel my pulse in my ears, my hands trembling, as I fumbled for anything that could prove I was here. My phone, my wallet, my ID, all useless. Then I remembered the phone. I grabbed my phone and somehow got it on borrowed service. She called me. It rang once, twice. Emma's face changed. She lunged toward me, but the old man shouted, "Hey!" My mom answered. "Hello!" I sobbed so hard I could barely speak. "Mom, it's me. I need help. Please, I'm near Mount Hood. I'm with Emma and..." There was a pause. Not long. 2 seconds, maybe 3. But I heard my whole life collapse inside it. Then my mother said, carefully, politely, "I'm sorry, who is this?" I don't remember what happened after that in a straight line. I remember dropping the phone. I remember Emma covering her mouth. I remember Nina whispering, "It's done." And I remember the cabin lights in the distance going dark, one by one, like something satisfied had finally gone to sleep. The old man still took me with him. Maybe he didn't believe me, but he didn't trust them either. He drove me to a gas station 20 minutes away and called the police. My friends were gone by the time deputies reached the cabin. So was the cabin. That's what the report said. No structure matching that description was found at the location provided. They found tire tracks, footprints, a torn backpack, nothing else. My ID was in my wallet again when the police checked it. Only now the name line was blank. Not scratched out, blank. It's been 8 months. I have a new name now, a legal one. The state helped me get documents after a long process I still don't fully understand. People hear my situation and assume it was some identity theft thing, some trauma-related memory problem, some weird paperwork error. I let them think that. It's easier. My mom still talks to me sometimes, but only because I kept calling. She says my voice feels familiar. She says she believes I'm someone important, even if she can't place how. Emma disappeared. So did Caleb, Nina, and Jordan. Every once in a while, I search their names online. They still exist. Photos, work profiles, old posts. But in every group picture from college, there's a space beside them where someone should be standing. A space shaped like me. Even after escaping, even with the safety of police lights behind me, a small, cold part of me can't stop replaying Emma's face in the woods. Not the guilt, not the tears, the relief. Because she knew the cabin had taken what it wanted, and she knew it wasn't her. So if your friend suddenly stops saying your name, don't laugh it off. Make them say it. Make them look you in the eye and say it. Because sometimes being forgotten doesn't happen all at once. Sometimes it starts quietly, with the people you trust most practicing your absence before you even know you're gone. The night I realized my best friend might not be real, I was standing outside my apartment in the rain, begging my girlfriend to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. She was across the parking lot, soaked through her hoodie, staring at me like I had become someone dangerous. Behind me, from the dark stairwell, my best friend Caleb whispered, "Don't listen to her, Ethan. She's trying to take you away from me." And the worst part was, Sophie didn't even look toward his voice. She only looked at me, like I was the only one standing there. My name is Ethan Vale. I was 23 when this happened, living in a small college town outside Richmond, Virginia. I worked evenings at a grocery store while finishing my certification in IT support. Nothing glamorous. My life was mostly shifts, cheap coffee, online classes, and coming home to my one-bedroom apartment where the heater made clicking sounds all night. Caleb had been my best friend for as long as I could remember. That's what I always told people anyway. He was the friend who knew everything about me. The one who remembered my dad leaving when I was 6. The one who sat with me through panic attacks in middle school. The one who somehow knew exactly what I was thinking before I said it. He didn't have many other friends. Honestly, neither did I. So when I met Sophie, I should have known Caleb would hate it. Sophie worked at the little bookstore beside the grocery store. She had dark hair, a quiet laugh, and this habit of pushing her sleeves over her hands when she was nervous. We started talking because I kept buying used horror novels I never had time to read. She teased me about it one night, saying, "You know, buying books and reading books are technically different hobbies." That was the first time in a long time someone made me feel normal without trying too hard. We started getting coffee after my shifts, then dinner, then walks through the old part of town where the brick sidewalks lifted unevenly from tree roots. It was slow and simple, and for once, I didn't overthink every word. At first, Caleb seemed happy for me. "She's cute," he said one night, sitting on my kitchen counter while I microwaved leftover pizza. I remember glancing at him. "You think so?" He smiled. "Yeah, but be careful." "Careful of what?" He looked past me toward the window, where rain slid down the glass in thin silver lines. "Girls like that don't stay," he said. I laughed because I thought he was joking. He didn't laugh back. The first weird moment happened about 3 weeks later. Sophie and I were at a diner near campus. It was one of those old places with red booths, chrome edges on the tables, and waitresses who called everyone Han. Caleb had come with us, which already annoyed me a little. I hadn't invited him, but when I left my apartment, he was waiting at the bottom of the stairs, hands in his jacket pockets, saying, "Figured I'd tag along." Sophie was polite, but quiet. Too quiet. After dinner, when Caleb went outside to smoke, Sophie leaned across the table and whispered, "Why do you keep doing that?" "Doing what?" She looked genuinely uncomfortable, talking to the empty side of the booth. I stared at her. "What?" She forced a small laugh, like she wanted me to laugh too. "Never mind. Bad joke." But her face didn't look like she was joking. I turned toward the window. Caleb stood outside under the diner sign, smoke curling from his mouth, looking directly at us. His expression was flat. I told myself Sophie just didn't like him. That was all. People don't always click. But after that, she started acting strange whenever I mentioned Caleb. If I said, "Caleb thinks that movie looks stupid," she'd pause and say, "Right." If I said, "Caleb came by earlier," she'd look around my apartment like she expected someone to step out of the hall. One night, while we were watching a movie on my couch, Caleb came in without knocking. He never knocked. He just walked in like he lived there. Sophie sat up fast. "What's wrong?" I asked. She stared at the door. It was open, just a crack. The hallway beyond it was dark. "Did you open that?" she asked. "No. Caleb just came in." Her face went pale. "Ethan," she said slowly, Nobody came in. Caleb stood beside the TV, smiling at her. "Tell her she's being dramatic," he said. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but the whisper of footsteps from the hallway made me freeze, every nerve screaming that I was not imagining this. I stood and checked the hall. Empty. When I turned back, Sophie was dead. "I think I should go." "Wait." Sophie. She wouldn't look at me. "You're scaring me." That sentence hurt more than I expected. After she left, Caleb sat beside me on the couch. "She's trying to make you feel crazy," he said. "She's not. Then why does she keep pretending I'm not here?" I didn't answer. He leaned closer. "Because she wants me gone." His voice was soft, but there was something underneath it. Something jealous and old. The next week got worse. Sophie stopped replying as much. When she did, her messages were short. I could feel her pulling away, and I hated how desperate it made me. Caleb loved it. He acted sorry, but I could see the satisfaction in his face. One night, after I texted Sophie for the third time and got nothing back, Caleb said, "Maybe she met someone else." "Shut up. I'm just saying what you're thinking." "I'm not thinking that." He smiled. "Yes, you are." Then my phone buzzed. It was Sophie. "Can we talk tomorrow?" "Alone." I stared at the word alone. Caleb did too. The street looked ordinary, quiet, even comforting outside my window, but my gut told me something was off. I'd learned too late that danger often wears a friendly face. The next day, Sophie asked me to meet her at the bookstore before closing. When I got there, the place was empty except for her and an older co-worker shelving books in the back. Sophie looked tired. Her eyes were red like she hadn't slept. "I need to ask you something," she said. "Okay." She held up her phone. It was a photo of me outside her apartment building at 2 in the morning. I felt my stomach drop. "That's not me," I said. "It is you, Ethan." "No, I was home." She swiped to another photo. Me again, standing across the street from her building. Same hoodie, same jeans, head tilted down. Then a third photo. This one showed my face turned slightly toward the camera. My eyes looked wrong, too blank. "I didn't do that," I whispered. She looked like she wanted to believe me. Then she said, "You left this on my windshield." She pulled something from behind the counter. A black marker. My mouth went dry. I didn't know why it scared me at first. It was just a marker. But the second I saw it, something moved in my memory. A small, dark shape from childhood. The smell of crayons. Paper spread across a kitchen table. My mom saying, "Ethan, why do you keep drawing over people's faces?" I stepped back. Sophie noticed. "What is it?" Before I could answer, Caleb's voice came from behind me. "She's lying." I spun around. He stood near the front door. His jacket was wet, though it wasn't raining. Sophie flinched at my movement, but her eyes didn't go to him. They stayed on me. "Don't do this here," she said. "You don't see him?" I asked. Her face crumpled a little. "Ethan, he's right there." The older co-worker looked over from the back. Caleb lifted one finger to his lips. "Stop," he whispered. I felt my pulse in my ears, my hands trembling as I fumbled for the edge of the counter. Every second felt stretched, like time itself was conspiring against me. Sophie came around the counter slowly, like approaching a scared animal. "There is no one there," she said. Caleb's face hardened. "She needs to go." I backed away from both of them. "I need air." I left the bookstore before Sophie could stop me. That night, I went to my mom's house. I hadn't planned to. I just drove there without thinking, taking the old back roads I knew from high school. My mom lived in the same little ranch house where I grew up, with the same faded blue shutters and the same porch light full of dead bugs. She was surprised to see me. "Ethan, what's wrong?" I almost told her everything right there. Instead, I asked, "Do you remember Caleb?" The change in her face was instant. Not confusion, fear. She opened the door wider and looked past me into the driveway. "Why are you asking about him?" "So you do remember." She swallowed. "I remember you talking about him." "No, he was real. He came over all the time." My mom's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, honey, Caleb was your imaginary friend." The word hit me like cold water. No, you were little. 5 or 6. You had a hard time after your dad left. The therapist said it was normal. No, he stayed. He grew up with me. She shook her head slowly. You stopped talking about him when you were 8. I didn't. She covered her mouth. I could see it then. Not just fear. Guilt. What? I asked. She didn't answer. Mom. She led me down the hall to the spare room, where she kept old boxes stacked under plastic tubs of Christmas decorations. She pulled one out and opened it with shaking hands. Inside were school papers, birthday cards, old drawings. She handed me a folder. I sat on the bed and opened it. The first drawing showed me as a little kid standing in front of our house. Beside me was a tall stick figure drawn in black marker. Too tall for a child. Its face was just 2 dark circles and a long smile. Above it, in uneven kid handwriting, I had written Caleb. I turned the page. Another drawing. Me and my mom at a park. Caleb stood behind us. Another. Me in bed. Caleb at the foot of it. Another. My dad near the front door with a suitcase. His face was scribbled out in black marker. My hands went numb. I kept turning pages faster. Teachers. Neighbors. Kids from school. Anyone standing close to me had their face crossed out. Then I found a drawing of a girl. I didn't know how I knew it was Sophie. The drawing was from when I was 5, years before I met her. But the girl had dark hair and sleeves pulled over her hands. Her face had been colored over completely with black marker. Behind me in the drawing, Caleb stood with one long arm resting on my shoulder. At the bottom, in crooked letters, I had written, "Caleb says no one else can keep me." I dropped the folder. My mom started crying. "I threw some away," she said. "The worst ones. I thought you were just angry. Then you got better, and I didn't want to bring it up again." A sound came from the hallway. A soft knock. 3 taps on the wall. My mother went still. I turned slowly. Caleb stood in the doorway. For the first time in my life, he didn't look like my age. He looked like the thing from the drawings. Too tall. Too thin. His smile stretched wrong. Not wide exactly, just empty, like someone had drawn it there and forgotten to stop. My heart sank into my stomach as the door clicked shut behind me, and I realized I was completely alone. Someone was watching, and I had no way out. That thought came into my head, so clearly it felt spoken. But I wasn't alone. My mother was right beside me, shaking so hard the bed creaked. She could see him. "Mom," I whispered. Her eyes were locked on the doorway. Caleb smiled. "You promised," he said. "Not to me. To her." My mom started whispering, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He got him. What is he talking about?" She didn't answer. Caleb stepped into the room. The lights flickered once. "You were lonely," he said to me. "I helped. I stayed. I kept them away." "Kept who away?" He looked at the drawings scattered on the floor. Everyone who would leave. My phone rang. The sound made all 3 of us laugh. It was Sophie. Caleb's face snapped toward the phone. "Don't answer." I answered. Sophie was crying. There was someone outside the window. My blood turned cold. "What?" "I thought it was you again, but he's just standing there. He keeps drawing on my window." Behind her voice, faint but clear, I heard squeaking. Marker on glass. I looked at Caleb. He was smiling, but he was also standing right in front of me. That was when I understood. Caleb wasn't a person. He wasn't even one thing. He was attached to me somehow, stretched through my life like a shadow. Wherever I cared too much, he could reach. "Sophie, call the police," I said. I did. "They're on their way." The line crackled. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. "He wrote your name." The call ended. I ran. I don't remember leaving my mom's house. I remember her screaming after me. I remember Caleb laughing from somewhere behind me and somewhere inside my head at the same time. The drive to Sophie's apartment should have taken 15 minutes. I made it in 9. Police lights were already flashing when I pulled into the lot. Sophie was standing beside an officer, wrapped in a blanket, crying but alive. Her apartment window was covered in black marker. Not random scribbles. Faces. Dozens of faces, all crossed out. In the middle, written in huge letters, was, "He was mine first." Even after the safety of the police lights behind me, a small, cold part of me couldn't stop replaying the face I'd seen in my mother's doorway. The calm, empty eyes that didn't blink. The police took statements. Sophie told them she saw someone outside, but the security camera showed no one. Just black lines appearing on the window while she backed away screaming. They asked me questions too. I sounded insane. I knew I did. Sophie didn't speak to me after that night. I don't blame her. 3 days later, she sent one message. "I believe you, but I can't be near this. I'm sorry." That was the last time I heard from her. As for Caleb, he didn't disappear. Not completely, but he got quieter after I stopped answering him. I moved out of my apartment. I started therapy. I told my therapist a version of the truth that made me sound traumatized instead of haunted. She said childhood coping mechanisms can resurface under stress. Maybe she's right. Maybe Caleb is just some damaged part of me wearing an old name. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I hear the cap of a marker clicking open in another room. Sometimes I wake up and find black smudges on my fingers. And last month, I opened an old photo album my mom finally gave me. Most of the pictures were normal. Birthday parties, school plays, summer cookouts. But in every photo where someone had their arm around me, their face had been covered with black marker. Not years ago. The ink was fresh, still wet enough to smear. The first time I realized my friends were afraid of me, I was standing in the school hallway holding a vanilla latte I hadn't even taken a sip from. It was 7:42 in the morning, cold enough outside that everyone came in with red noses and damp shoes, and the whole building smelled like rain, old lockers, and cafeteria hash browns. I remember that detail clearly because everything else about that morning still feels unreal, like it happened to someone wearing my face. My name is Lena Hart. I was 17 at the time, a senior at a high school in a quiet suburb outside Portland, Oregon. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't invisible either. I had a small friend group, the kind that made school feel less like a prison sentence. There was Maya, my best friend since 8th grade. Confident, pretty, always the first to speak up. Jordan, who made everyone laugh even when teachers were yelling. Priya, who was quiet but sharp, the kind of person who remembered tiny details about everyone. And Cassie, who had only joined our group the year before, but somehow acted like she'd been there from the beginning. We ate lunch together every day. We had a group chat called Emotional Support Goblins. We shared clothes, secrets, test answers, everything. Or at least I thought we did. That morning, I saw them standing near Maya's locker. All 4 of them. They were huddled close, whispering, their shoulders tense like they were discussing something serious. I walked up smiling, because I assumed it was normal drama. Someone's boyfriend, someone's parents, someone failing calculus again. "Hey," I said, "why do you all look like you're planning a robbery?" Nobody laughed. Maya looked at me first. Her face went completely pale. Jordan stopped mid-sentence. Priya lowered her eyes like she couldn't stand looking at me. Cassie actually took one step back. At first, I thought there was someone behind me. I turned, but the hall was just its usual mess of students, slamming lockers, squeaking sneakers, morning announcements crackling through the speakers. When I looked back, Maya was still staring. "What?" I said, trying to laugh. "Do I have something on my face?" "Don't," Maya whispered. That one word hit me wrong. "Don't what?" Jordan grabbed Maya's sleeve. "Let's go." They walked away. All of them. Just left me there with my stupid coffee cooling in my hand. I told myself I had missed something. Maybe there was some joke I wasn't in on. Maybe Maya was mad about something and being dramatic. Friends fight, right? Sometimes people act weird in high school for no reason. But by second period, I knew it wasn't just them. People were watching me. Not openly, not everyone, but enough that I noticed. A girl in my English class moved her backpack off the empty chair beside her when I walked in. 2 freshmen went quiet when I passed them near the bathroom. A guy from my history class stared at me, then quickly looked away when I caught him. The street looked ordinary, quiet, even comforting outside the window, but inside that building, my gut told me something was off. I'd learned too late that danger often wears a friendly face. At lunch, our table was empty. Not empty exactly. They were there. They just weren't sitting at our usual table. Maya, Jordan, Priya, and Cassie sat across the cafeteria, squeezed in with people they barely knew. When I walked toward them, the conversation died. Maya saw me coming and shook her head, almost begging me not to come closer. I stopped halfway across the cafeteria. You know that feeling when you realize everyone knows something about you except you? It's like standing on a stage without knowing how you got there. I turned around and sat alone by the windows. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Maya. "Don't sit with us. Please." I stared at it for a long time before replying. What did I do? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then nothing. After lunch, I found out they had blocked me. Not just Maya, all of them. Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, even the group chat. It was gone from my phone like someone had erased the last 4 years of my life with one swipe. When I got home, I went straight to my room and cried in that ugly, quiet way where you try not to make noise because your parents are downstairs and you don't want to explain something you don't understand. My mom came up at me. She knocked softly. "Lena, I'm fine. I'm not." I opened the door and she took one look at me. I told her the basic version. My friends were ignoring me. People were acting weird. I didn't know why. She rubbed my back and said, "Teenagers can be cruel. Sometimes it passes." I wanted to believe her. The next day it got worse. Someone had written "Psycho" on my locker in black marker. Not big, not dramatic, just one word, low near the handle, like whoever wrote it wanted me to find it privately. I stood there staring at it while people walked around me. Then I heard Cassie's voice behind me. She's acting like she doesn't know. I turned around. Cassie was standing with 2 girls from our grade. When she saw me looking, she didn't flinch. "What am I supposed to know?" I asked. Cassie crossed her arms. "Stop pretending, Lena." My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Pretending what?" One of the girls whispered, "That's creepy." Cassie shook her head like she was disappointed in me. "You really need help." Then she walked away. By then I was angry. Not just hurt, angry. I found Maya after school near the side entrance, where students waited for rides under the overhang when it rained. She was alone, looking down at her phone. "Maya," I said. She jumped like I had screamed. That broke something in me. "Why are you scared of me?" I asked. Her eyes filled with tears. "Please don't do this here." "Do what?" "I don't even know what's happening." She looked around, panicked. "You know, I don't." Maya's hands were shaking. She turned her phone toward me. There was a video. I saw myself standing in the school bathroom. Same brown jacket, same black jeans, same silver necklace my dad gave me when I was 12. But the girl in the video didn't move like me. She stood too still. A girl named Hannah came into the bathroom. In real life, Hannah and I barely spoke. In the video, I turned toward her and smiled. Then the video cut. Next clip, Hannah was crying in the hallway while people surrounded her. The caption on the video said, "Lena told Hannah everyone wished she would disappear." My stomach dropped. I didn't say that. Maya's lips trembled. "There's more." She showed me another one. Me in the parking lot, leaning close to Jordan's car, dragging something along the side. The video was grainy, taken from across the lot, but it looked like me. Same jacket, same hair. Another one showed me outside Priya's house at night, standing on the sidewalk, staring up at her bedroom window. Another showed me in the library, whispering something to Cassie. Cassie backed away, looking terrified. I couldn't breathe. "That isn't me," I said. Maya's face twisted. "Lena, we didn't want to believe it either. You know me. I thought I did. That hurt more than anything." I reached for her phone, not to take it, just to look closer, but she flinched so hard she almost dropped it. My heart sank into my stomach as the side door clicked shut behind us, and I realized we were alone under the overhang. Someone was watching, and I had no way to prove it wasn't me. Maya whispered, "You said something to me yesterday." "I didn't talk to you yesterday." "Yes, you did." Her voice cracked. "You came up behind me before first period and told me if I kept lying, you'd make them see what I really was." A cold feeling crawled up my spine. "Maya, I swear on my life I didn't." She stared at me. For one tiny second, I saw doubt in her face. Then her phone buzzed. She looked down. Her expression changed. She slowly turned the screen toward me again. A new video had just been posted from an anonymous account. It showed us under the overhang. Right then, from across the parking lot, Maya and me standing in the rain-gray afternoon. In the video, I leaned toward her, but in real life, I was standing still. On the screen, the other me turned her head toward the camera and smiled. Maya screamed. She ran. I stood there frozen, rain dripping from the edge of the roof onto my shoes, staring across the parking lot. Between two parked cars, I saw a figure. Me. Same jacket, same hair, same face. She stood there for maybe 3 seconds. Then a bus drove past, and she was gone. I didn't tell anyone at first. How could I? My friends already thought I was a monster. My mom would think I was overwhelmed. The school counselor would talk to me in that soft voice adults use when they've already decided you're unstable. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went looking for proof. That night, I made a fake account and searched for the videos. The anonymous profile was called The Real Lena. It had no profile picture, no bio, and 12 posts. Every post was me doing something awful. Except I hadn't done any of it. The comments were full of people from school. I knew she was fake. She always gave me bad vibes. Maya warned us. Someone needs to report her. Then I found a post that had only been up for 6 minutes. It was a photo of my bedroom window, taken from outside. My blood went cold. I lowered my laptop slowly and looked toward the curtains. They were open just enough to show the dark glass. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but the faint sound of footsteps in the wet grass outside made me freeze, every nerve screaming that I was not imagining this. I crawled off my bed and switched off the lamp. The room went dark. For a moment, I saw my reflection in the window. Then another face appeared beside mine. Same face, smiling. I screamed so loudly my mom ran upstairs. By the time she got there was nobody outside. No footprints we could see in the rain. No figure in the yard. But the next morning, there was an envelope taped to our front door. Inside was a printed screenshot from the anonymous account. A new message had been written across it in black marker. They made me. That was the point where I stopped thinking this was just cyberbullying. I reported the account. It disappeared for one day, then came back under a new name. The school called my mom in for a meeting. Maya's parents were there. Priya's mom, Cassie's dad, Jordan's older brother. Everyone looked tired and angry and scared. The principal played some of the videos. Watching them in that office felt worse than seeing them on my phone. Bigger screen, clearer sound, my face doing things I'd never do, my voice saying words I'd never say. I kept repeating, "That's not me." No one answered. Then my mom asked the obvious question, "Where are the original files?" Everyone went quiet. Maya looked down. Cassie's face went stiff. My mom noticed. "What aren't you saying?" she asked. Maya started crying. Cassie whispered, "We made the first one." The room changed. Even the principal sat back. "What?" I said. Maya covered her mouth. Jordan finally spoke. "It was supposed to be a joke." My whole body went numb. They explained it in pieces. Cassie had edited the first video, the one with Hannah. They wanted to teach me a lesson because they thought I'd been acting distant, like I thought I was better than them. Maya said they weren't really going to post it widely. Just show a few people. Just scare me. But after they made it, other videos started appearing. Videos none of them. Videos from angles that couldn't have fit. Videos of me in places that you ruined my life. Maya sighed. I didn't mean for it to go this way. Cassie whispered. We didn't know there would be another one. The lights flickered. Once. Then again. The principal frowned. Everyone stay seated. The hallway outside the office went dark. Not completely. The emergency exit sign still glowed red, and the vending machine at the far end hummed faintly. But the ceiling lights cut out one row at a time, starting from the end of the hall and moving toward us. Click, click, click. My hands started shaking. The office door was open. From the dark hallway, someone laughed softly. It sounded like me. Every head turned. At first, all we saw was shadow. Then she stepped into the doorway. My other self. Same jacket, same hair, same necklace, same small scar above the eyebrow from when I fell off my bike at 10. But her eyes were wrong. Not black, not glowing, nothing dramatic like that. They were just empty in a way no living person's eyes should be. She smiled at Maya first, then Cassie, then Jordan, then Priya. You wanted a villain, she said in my voice. So I came. No one moved. No one breathed. Even after everything, I think part of me expected her to look at me with hatred. But she didn't. She looked at me kindly, almost sadly. Then she turned back to my friends and whispered, "Now they'll believe you." The fire alarm went off. Everyone screamed at once. I don't remember getting out of the office. I remember my mom grabbing my arm so hard it hurt. I remember Maya crying my name behind me. I remember Cassie falling against the wall, begging someone to help her. I remember the red alarm lights flashing over everyone's faces, making them all look guilty. Police came. Firefighters came. The school was evacuated. They found no one in the hallway. No stranger. No girl who looked like me. The security cameras went black for exactly 43 seconds. Long enough. The anonymous account vanished that night and never came back. Most people eventually decided the whole thing had been an elaborate hoax. My friends got in serious trouble for the first fake video, but not for the rest. There was no way to explain the rest, so adults did what adults often do. They ignored the parts that didn't fit. I transferred schools 2 weeks later. Maya sent me a long apology. I never answered. Priya wrote me a letter. Jordan tried calling. Cassie deleted all her social media. I'm 21 now. I live in a different city. I keep my circle small. I don't let people record me as a joke. I don't laugh when someone says, "Relax, it's not that serious." Because sometimes it is. Sometimes a lie doesn't just hurt you. Sometimes, if enough people believe in the worst version of you, something steps into that shape and starts breathing. And the worst part is, I still see her sometimes. Not fully, just in dark windows when I'm walking home. In the black screen of my phone before it lights up. In bathroom mirrors when the bulb flickers. She never looks angry. She just smiles, like she's waiting for the next person to betray me. Like she knows that sooner or later someone will. The first lie I told for Caleb sounded so small, I barely thought about it. That's what scares me most when I look back on it now. Not the police questions. Not the missing posters taped to every glass door in town. Not even the messages that came from his phone after everyone swore it had been found dead in the woods. It was how easy the first lie was. My name is Ryan. I was 16 when this happened, living in a quiet town in northern Michigan where everybody knew everybody's truck, everybody's parents, and everybody's business. The kind of place where nothing stayed private for long, except the things that really should have been talked about. Caleb Mercer was my best friend. At least, that's what I called him back then. We'd known each other since 7th grade, but we only became close sophomore year when we both got stuck in detention for skipping the same pep rally. He was funny in a dry way, always half smiling like he knew a joke nobody else did. Teachers liked him because he was polite. Parents liked him because he said, "Yes, ma'am," and "No, sir." Kids liked him because he could make anything sound interesting. But there was always something slightly off about him, too. He lied a lot. Not big, dramatic lies. Small ones. Pointless ones. He'd say he forgot his homework when I'd watched him finish it that morning. He'd tell people his dad used to race motorcycles, even though his dad sold insurance and hated anything louder than a lawnmower. He'd swear he saw our history teacher crying in her car, then laugh when people believed him. When I called him out, he'd just shrug. "People like stories better than truth," he said once. I should have remembered that. It was a Thursday night in October when he called me. Rain had been tapping against my bedroom window for hours, soft and steady, the kind that made the whole town feel asleep. I was sitting on my bed pretending to study, with my laptop open and my phone plugged into the wall beside me. Caleb's name popped up at 11:47 p.m. That was late for him, not because he cared about rules, but because his mom did. She checked his phone randomly, even at night. I answered and said, "Dude, what?" For a second, I only heard breathing. Then he said, "Ryan, I need you to do something for me." His voice was low, not joking, not casual. "What happened?" "Nothing. Just listen." I sat up. "If anyone asks," he said, "I was with you tonight." I stared at the rain sliding down the glass. "What?" "From like 8 until midnight. We were in your basement playing Xbox." "We weren't." "I know that." "Then why would I say that?" There was a pause. In the background, I heard wind. Not rain against a window. Actual wind, like he was outside. "Caleb, where are you?" "Just say we were together." "No. Tell me what's going on." His breathing got sharper. "Please, Ryan. You're my best friend." That worked on me. I hate admitting it, but it did. At 16, being someone's best friend still felt like a title you had to earn every day. "What did you do?" I asked. He laughed once, but it came out wrong. Thin, nervous. "I didn't do anything. That's the problem." Then the call crackled. For 1 second, I heard something else behind him. A voice. Not loud, not clear, more like someone whispering through leaves. Caleb said very softly, "It's listening." My stomach tightened. "Who is?" "Just promise me." I should have said no. I should have woken my parents, called his mom, done literally anything else. Instead, I sighed and said, "Fine. If anyone asks, you were here." The silence after that felt too long. Then Caleb whispered, "Keep it simple. Lies get stronger when they're simple." Before I could ask what that meant, he hung up. I told myself he was messing with me. Caleb did weird stuff all the time. Maybe he snuck out to meet some girl. Maybe he broke something. Maybe he needed an alibi because his mom was strict. I plugged my phone back in. At 2:13 a.m., I woke up to it. It was from Caleb. "Thank you." Then another message came right after. "Don't correct it now." I typed, "Correct what?" The dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, he sent. The first lie counts most. I didn't sleep much after that. The next morning, the school felt wrong before I even knew why. People were clustered in the halls whispering. Teachers stood outside classrooms with tight faces. The usual noise was there, lockers slamming and sneakers squeaking, and someone laughing too loudly near the vending machines. But underneath it all was this nervous pressure. Then I saw Caleb's girlfriend, Mara, crying outside the office. My heart sank. By first period, everyone knew. Caleb hadn't come home. His mom had called around midnight after finding his bedroom window open. His truck was still in the driveway. His wallet was on his desk. His jacket was gone, but his phone was apparently still sending him as active until around 3 a.m., somewhere near Hollow Creek Road. That road ran behind the old paper mill, through a stretch of woods nobody went into unless they were hunting, drinking, or trying to scare freshmen. Second period, the principal came in with a police officer. When they asked me to step into the hallway, my legs went weak. The officer was a woman named Detective Harris. She wasn't harsh, but she had a tired face, like she'd already heard 3 versions of the same story and didn't believe any of them. "Ryan," she said, "we understand you're close with Caleb." I nodded. "When was the last time you saw him?" My mouth went dry, and there it was, the moment, the lie sitting on my tongue waiting. I could have told the truth. I could have said he called me late and asked me to cover for him. I could have played the voicemail, shown the texts, done the right thing. But all I could think was, "You're my best friend." So I said, "He was with me last night." Detective Harris didn't react much. "What time?" 8 to midnight. "Doing what?" "Playing Xbox in my basement." My voice sounded normal. That scared me too. She looked down at her notepad. Your parents were home. Yeah, but they went to bed early. Can they confirm he was there? I hesitated. No, we were downstairs. She looked at me for a second longer than she needed to. Okay, she said. We may need to talk again. When I got back to class, my hands were shaking under the desk. At lunch, my phone buzzed. Caleb, keep lying. It likes lies. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then the message vanished. Not deleted. Not hidden. Gone. I searched the conversation. Nothing. Just the messages from the night before. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but the whisper of footsteps from the hallway made me freeze, every nerve screaming that I was not imagining this. No one was outside the classroom. That afternoon, search teams went into the woods near Hollow Creek. By dinner, the whole town was watching. My mom had the local news on in the kitchen, while she made pasta nobody felt like eating. They found his phone, she said quietly. I looked up. Where? In the woods. Battery dead. My fork slipped out of my hand and hit the plate, because while my mom was saying that, my phone buzzed again. Caleb, tell them again. I didn't open it. My mom noticed my face. Ryan, I'm fine. I wasn't fine. The next day, Detective Harris came to our house. My parents sat with me in the living room. My dad kept his arms crossed, not angry exactly, but worried. My mom kept touching my shoulder, like she could feel me slipping away. Detective Harris asked the same questions. What time did Caleb arrive? What did we play? Did he seem upset? Did he mention going anywhere? And every time I answered, the air in the room seemed to get colder. He was fine, I said. Normal. My phone buzzed in my pocket. He left around midnight. Buzz. He said he was going home. Buzz. Detective Harris paused. Ryan, are you receiving messages right now? I froze. My dad said, give me your phone. I pulled it out with shaking hands. There were 3 messages from Caleb. Good. Again. It knows your voice now. My mom gasped when she saw his name. Detective Harris took the phone carefully. She checked it, frowned, and asked me to unlock it. When she opened the thread, the messages weren't there. I swear to God, they weren't there. She looked at me, then at my parents. Ryan, she said gently, are you sure Caleb was with you? That should have been my chance. Instead, I heard Caleb's voice in my head. The first lie counts most. So I said, yes. That night, I dreamed someone was standing at the foot of my bed. Not Caleb. Something wearing the idea of him badly. It had his outline, his messy hair, his hoodie, but the face wouldn't settle. It kept shifting in the dark, like my eyes couldn't decide what they were seeing. When I tried to scream, my voice didn't come out. The thing leaned closer and whispered in my own voice. He was with me all night. I woke up with my throat aching. After that, things got worse fast. At school, people started saying they saw Caleb. Mara swore she saw him standing behind the baseball field fence before first bell. A freshman claimed Caleb walked past him in the bathroom mirror, even though the bathroom door never opened. Our English teacher stopped mid-sentence and stared at the empty desk in the back until someone asked if she was okay. Then people started seeing me too. That was worse. Blake Turner from my math class asked why I ignored him at the gas station the night before. I told him I hadn't been there. He laughed and said, yeah, okay. You were wearing that same hoodie. I looked down. Blue hoodie. White drawstrings. The one I wore all the time. Later that day, my mom texted me. Why did you come home during lunch and not say anything? I called her immediately. I didn't come home. There was silence. Mom, she whispered. Ryan, I saw you through the kitchen window. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe. What was I doing? Standing in the backyard. The phone felt slick in my hand. Did I say anything? No, she said. You were just smiling. That afternoon, I finally told Mara. We met behind the gym where the cameras didn't reach, because I was scared of everything by then. The sky was gray, low and heavy, and dead leaves scratched across the pavement. I told her Caleb called me. I told her he asked me to lie. I told her about the messages. Mara stared at me like she wanted to hit me. You lied to the police? I was trying to protect him. From what? I don't know. Her eyes filled with tears. Ryan, his mom thinks he was safe with you. Do you understand that? I did. That was the thing. I understood it too late. Then Mara's expression changed. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking over my shoulder. I turned. At the far end of the parking lot, near the tree, Caleb was standing. For half a second, grief hit me so hard I almost fainted. Then I noticed his posture. Too still. Caleb was never still. He shifted, bounced his knee, tapped his fingers. This Caleb stood with both arms hanging straight down at his sides. Mara whispered, "Caleb?" He lifted one hand, not waving, pointing. At me. My phone buzzed. I looked down. One message. "Say it again, and I can come closer." When I looked back up, the parking lot was empty. Mara started crying so hard she could barely breathe. That was when I went to Detective Harris and told the truth. Or tried to. I sat in the station with my parents beside me and explained everything. The call, the alibi, the texts, the figure by the woods. Detective Harris listened without interrupting. Then she asked, "Ryan, why didn't you tell us this before?" I was scared. Of Caleb? I thought about the thing in my dream, the smile in my backyard, the way my own voice had sounded wrong. "No," I said, "of what he brought back." My dad lowered his head into his hands. I could tell nobody believed the supernatural part. Of course they didn't. I wouldn't have either. But they believed I had lied. That was enough. They searched Hollow Creek again. They questioned kids at school. They pulled security footage from gas stations and traffic cameras. And then Detective Harris called my parents the next morning. There was footage. Not of Caleb. Of me. At 11:58 p.m. on Thursday night, the same time I claimed Caleb was in my basement, a traffic camera caught someone who looked exactly like me walking down Hollow Creek Road. Same hoodie, same jeans, same backpack, except I was home. I had been home. My dad watched the footage 3 times without speaking. My mom cried. Detective Harris looked at me differently after that, not like I was lying anymore. Like she was afraid I might not be. That night, my parents made me sleep with my bedroom door open. My dad stayed awake downstairs with every light on. My mom kept checking on me like I was 5 years old. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to my phone ringing. Unknown number. I stared at it, barely breathing. Then I answered. For a while, there was only static. Then Caleb spoke. "Ryan." I sat up. "Caleb?" He sounded far away, like he was talking from inside a tunnel. "You told them. Where are you? You shouldn't have told them." "Caleb, what is happening?" He made this small broken sound, not quite crying. I thought I could give it the lie and walk away. What lie? That I wasn't alone. The room seemed to tilt. "What did you do?" He whispered. "I met it at Hollow Creek." The line crackled. It asked for something true. I didn't want to give it that. So I gave it a lie. I was shaking so hard the phone tapped against my cheek. "What does it want now?" Caleb breathed in. "You." Behind me, my bedroom door clicked shut. My heart sank into my stomach as the door clicked shut behind me, and I realized I was completely alone. Someone was watching, and I had no way out. I turned slowly. My closet door was open. It hadn't been before. Inside, in the dark between my hanging clothes, someone was standing. Me. Not Caleb. Me. My face. My hoodie. My eyes. But the smile was wrong. Too calm. Too empty. It didn't blink. I couldn't move. The thing stepped out of the closet and spoke in my voice. He was with me all night. I scrambled backward off the bed and hit the floor hard. My phone slipped from my hand. Downstairs, I heard my dad shout my name. The thing tilted its head. "Again," it said. I screamed. My dad kicked the door open so hard the frame cracked. The lights flickered. For 1 second, he saw it too. I know he did, because he stopped dead in the doorway, his face draining white. Then the window burst open. Cold rain blew into the room. The thing climbed out backward, still facing us, still smiling with my mouth. By the time my dad reached the window, it was gone. Police came again. They found wet footprints on the carpet, leading from my closet to the window. Bare footprints. My size. After that, nobody treated me like I was just a scared kid anymore. For 2 days, I stayed home. Detective Harris parked outside our house at night. My parents barely slept. Caleb's disappearance became bigger than our town. News vans showed up. People online said I had done something to him. Others said Caleb had run away, and I was covering for him. No one guessed the truth, because the truth sounded stupid. A lie had opened a door, and something was learning how to walk through it wearing my face. On Sunday evening, Caleb came back. He walked out of the woods near Hollow Creek and collapsed by the road. A couple driving past found him and called 911. He was cold, dirty, dehydrated, but alive. The whole town treated it like a miracle. His mom sobbed on TV. Teachers hugged each other in the halls. Kids at school whispered that it was over. I wanted to believe that. I really did. Caleb asked to see me the next day. My parents said no at first, but Detective Harris thought it might help. So we met in a hospital room with my dad and a nurse right outside the door. Caleb looked smaller in the bed, pale, exhausted. There were scratches on his arms, nothing serious, but enough to make him look like he'd been crawling through brush. For a moment, he looked like my friend again. "I'm sorry," he said. I stood near the door. "For what?" "All of it." I wanted to be angry. I was angry, but seeing him like that broke something in me. "You used me," I said. He nodded. "I thought if you lied for me, it would take the lie instead." "What does that even mean?" His eyes moved toward the window. "It doesn't feed on lies exactly," he said. "It grows through them. Every time someone believes one, every time someone repeats one, it gets more room." My skin went cold. "Why me?" He looked at me then. "Because you trusted me." That hurt more than I expected. The nurse opened the door and said visiting time was over. Caleb looked panicked. "Ryan, wait." I should have walked out. Instead, I stepped closer. He opened his arms slightly, weakly, like he wanted a hug. Like we were still two stupid kids who could fix everything by pretending it hadn't happened. I leaned in. His arms wrapped around me. For 1 second, he felt real. Then his mouth brushed my ear, and he whispered, "Thanks for giving it your voice." I pulled back. Caleb was smiling. Not wide, not dramatic, just calm, empty. The same smile I'd seen on my own face in the closet. That was 2 years ago. Caleb's family moved away a month later. Detective Harris transferred not long after that. My parents don't talk about what happened, but my dad still checks the locks twice every night, and my mom still freezes when she hears my voice from another room. I don't lie anymore, not even small lies. If someone asks how I am, I tell them. If I'm late, I say why. If I don't want to go somewhere, I don't make up excuses. People think that makes me honest. It doesn't. It makes me careful. Because sometimes, late at night, my phone lights up with a notification. Sometimes I hear my own voice downstairs when everyone is asleep. Sometimes my reflection smiles half a second after I stop. And every time someone asks me what happened to Caleb Mercer, there's this pressure behind my teeth. Like something waiting for me to say the wrong thing. Like something wearing my voice, hoping I'll give it another lie. I knew something was wrong when the police officer looked at the notebook, then looked at me like I was the one he had been warned about. Not confused, not concerned, warned. That's the part one still replay the most. Not the list, not the red circle around my name. Not even the way my friends sat in the living room with their hands folded, crying softly like they had rehearsed it. It was that look, like a stranger had already decided who I was before I opened my mouth. My name is Hannah Miller. I was 16 when this happened, living in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio, the kind of place with clean sidewalks, matching mailboxes, and parents who acted like nothing truly bad could happen if everyone made it home before dark. I went to Westbridge High, which was ordinary in every possible way. Fluorescent lights, squeaky floors, crowded hallways, cafeteria pizza that tasted like cardboard and salt. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't a loner either. I had a friend group, and back then, that felt like enough. There were 5 of us. Maddie was the center, pretty, confident, always smiling like she knew something you didn't. Brooke was her shadow, the kind of girl who laughed half a second after Maddie did. Tessa was quiet and artsy, always drawing little eyes and flowers in the margins of her notebooks. Claire was the nice one, or at least that's what I thought. And then there was me. I was the new addition. My family had moved there the summer before sophomore year, after my parents separated. My mom got a job at a dental office, and we rented a small townhouse near the edge of town, close enough that I could walk to school if I had to. I hated starting over. I hated walking into a cafeteria where everyone already had a place to sit. So when Maddie invited me to her table the second week of school, I felt saved. That sounds dramatic now, but at 16, being included can feel like oxygen. At first, they were amazing. They added me to the group chat. They invited me to sleepovers. They saved me seats in class. Maddie even gave me one of her old hoodies after I said I liked it. "You're one of us now," she told me, smiling. And I believed her. The first weird thing happened in October, during a sleepover at Maddie's house. Her parents were away for their anniversary, and her older brother was supposedly upstairs gaming with headphones on. We were in the basement watching bad horror movies, eating popcorn straight from the bowl, making fun of the characters for doing stupid things. At some point, Maddie paused the movie and said, "Let's play honesty ranking." I laughed because I thought she was joking. "What's that?" "It's dumb," Brooke said, but she was already smiling. Maddie grabbed a notebook from the coffee table. We rank each other for random stuff. Most likely to get famous. Most likely to cry during a math test. Most likely to marry rich. Things like that. It sounded harmless. I mean, maybe, but in the way teenage girls sometimes pretend meanness is bonding. We did a few rounds. I was voted most likely to apologize when someone else bumps into her. Everyone laughed, including me, because it was true. Then Maddie said, "Most likely to keep a secret." Everyone went quiet for a second too long. Claire looked at me, then looked away. "What?" I said. "Nothing," Maddie said quickly. "I vote Hannah." Brooke nodded. "Definitely Hannah." Tessa smiled without showing her teeth. "Yeah, Hannah." I should have felt flattered. Instead, something in my stomach tightened. The street outside Maddie's basement window looked ordinary, quiet, even comforting, with orange leaves stuck to the wet glass. But my gut told me something was off. I'd learned too late that danger often wears a friendly face. I told myself it was nothing, just a game, just girls being weird. But after that night, the tests started. I didn't know they were tests at the time. Maddie would tell me something private, then wait to see if it spread. Brooke would ask if I'd lie for her about where she'd been after school. Claire would accidentally leave her phone near me with the screen unlocked. Tessa once handed me a folded note in history and whispered, "Don't read it until later." I didn't read it. At lunch, they all seemed pleased. "You're loyal," Maddie said. The word sounded nice, but her tone didn't. By November, I noticed they were watching me more than talking to me. If I walked ahead, their voices dropped behind me. If I turned around, they smiled. In the group chat, they'd sometimes stop replying right after I sent something, then continue in person like nothing happened. I asked Claire about it once after gym. She was tying her shoes, her hair hanging around her face. "Are you guys mad at me?" I asked. She looked up too fast. "No." "Why?" "I don't know. It just feels like everyone's acting weird." Claire stared at me for a moment. Her expression almost cracked, like she wanted to say something. Then Maddie walked into the locker room. Claire looked down again. "You're overthinking." That became the answer for everything. "You're overthinking. You're too sensitive. We're just joking." By December, I had learned to smile even when I felt like I was being studied. The ranking list appeared on a Friday. I found it because I stayed late at school to finish a biology project, and Maddie had left her backpack in the library. She texted me asking if I could grab it and bring it to Brooke's house, where everyone was hanging out later. I almost didn't go through it. I swear I didn't mean to snoop. But when I picked up the backpack, the zipper was open, and a black notebook slid out onto the floor. Papers spilled everywhere. I bent down to shove them back inside, and that's when I saw my name. Hannah, final. It was written in red ink at the top of a page. My hand froze. Underneath was a chart with all our names in columns. But the categories weren't jokes anymore. Easiest to isolate, most likely to panic, most likely to be believed, least likely to fight back, best final witness. I stared at the page for so long the words stopped looking real. Next to my name, almost every box had a check mark. At the bottom, written in Maddie's neat handwriting, was one sentence circled twice. Hannah works because she wants to be chosen. My throat went dry. I turned the page with shaking fingers. There were notes about me, not just school stuff. My mom's work schedule, when I walked home, which neighbors kept porch lights on, which teachers liked me, which teachers thought I was emotionally fragile. There were screenshots of texts I'd sent months earlier, printed and taped into the notebook. One page had a list titled, "Things She Will Accept If Said Gently." I felt sick. Then I heard footsteps outside the library. I shoved the notebook into my hoodie and put the rest of the papers back. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. I carried Maddie's backpack to the front office and told them someone forgot it. Then I walked home in the cold with the notebook pressed against my stomach under my coat. Every car that passed felt like it slowed down. Every shadow beside the sidewalk looked occupied. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia. The whisper of footsteps behind me. Every nerve screamed that I was not imagining. When I turned around, no one was there. At home, I locked myself in my room and read the whole notebook. That was when I found the part about the tradition. They called it the winter blame. It sounded stupid at first, like some private club drama, but the more I read, the worse it got. Every year, according to the notes, someone had to be chosen before winter break. Someone inside the group. Someone close enough to know things, but weak enough to be blamed when something happened. Except the thing hadn't happened yet. That was written exactly. Blame must be ready before the event. There were old names, dates, initials, notes about girls who transferred schools, girls who lost friends, girls who had incidents attached to them. Nothing clear enough to understand, just enough to make my skin crawl. I took pictures of every page with my phone. Then I called Claire. She answered on the fourth ring. For a second, neither of us said anything. Finally, I whispered. I found the notebook. Her breathing changed. "Hannah," she said quietly, "where are you?" "At home." "Are you alone?" That question scared me more than anything else she could have said. "Why?" "Listen to me," she said. "Don't show your mom yet." "What?" "Please. Just don't. Not until I get there." "Claire, what is this?" She started crying. Not loudly, just this small, broken sound. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know they picked you until later." My room suddenly felt too small. What are they blaming me for? Claire didn't answer. "Claire, there has to be a witness," she said. "To what?" The line went quiet. Then, somewhere on her end, I heard Maddie's voice. "Who are you talking to?" Claire hung up. I grabbed the notebook, my phone, and my house keys. My mom wasn't home yet. I didn't want to stay there alone, but I didn't know where to go. The police station was a 15-minute walk, maybe less if I ran. I made it halfway down our street before headlights flashed behind me. A car rolled slowly along the curb. Maddie's white SUV. Brooke was in the passenger seat. Tessa sat in the back. Maddie lowered the driver's window and smiled like she was picking me up for a mall trip. "Hannah," she called. "Get in." I kept walking. The SUV followed. My hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped my keys. "Hannah," Maddie said again, still sweet. "You're making this look worse." I turned into the driveway of a house with Christmas lights and ran to the porch. I rang the bell over and over. The SUV stopped. For a second, no one moved. Then the front door opened, and an older man in a sweater looked down at me, confused. "Can I help you?" "My friends are following me," I said, barely able to breathe. "Please call the police." Maddie's SUV pulled away before he could look. The officer who came seemed annoyed at first. I don't blame him completely. I was crying, talking too fast, holding a notebook and saying my friends had a secret blame tradition. It sounded insane. But then I showed him the pages. His face changed. He drove me home and waited until my mom got there. She read the notebook at the kitchen table, one hand over her mouth while the officer took notes. For the first time all night, I felt like maybe I had done the right thing. Then the officer asked to see the photos on my phone. They were gone. Not deleted into recently deleted. Not hidden. Gone. Every picture I had taken of the notebook had disappeared. I still had the notebook, though. That was what I kept saying. I still had the notebook. The officer took it as evidence. He told us they'd speak to the girls and their parents. My mom wanted to keep me home from school on Monday. I didn't argue. The next morning, 2 police cars pulled into our driveway. I remember standing at the top of the stairs in my pajamas, watching red and blue lights flicker against the walls. My heart sank into my stomach as the front door clicked shut behind my mom, and I realized I was completely alone upstairs. Someone was watching, and I had no way out. Then my mom called my name. Her voice sounded wrong. I went down slowly. The same officer from the night before stood in our living room with another, one I didn't recognize. Maddie, Brooke, Tessa, and Claire were sitting on our couch. All 4 of them were crying. Maddie had a bruise on her cheek. Brooke's hands were shaking. Tessa wouldn't look at me. Claire looked like she hadn't slept. On the coffee table was the black notebook, but it was different. The red circles were gone. The categories were gone. The pages now showed messy handwriting that looked like mine. Plans, angry notes, rankings about them. Easiest to scare, most likely to break first. Best final witness. My name wasn't circled anymore. Theirs were. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the notebook while the room tilted around me. "That's not mine," I said. My voice sounded tiny. Maddie looked at the officer, tears sliding down her face. "We were scared of her for a long time," she said. Brooke nodded, crying harder. "We didn't know what to do." Claire whispered. "She told us no one would believe us." I looked at her. "Claire." She flinched like I had hit her. I could feel my pulse in my ears, my hands trembling as I reached for the notebook. Every second felt stretched, like time itself was conspiring against me. The officer stopped me. "Hannah," he said carefully, "don't touch it." That was when I understood. Whatever they had planned, it had already started. My mom kept saying there had to be a mistake. She told them I was home with her. She told them I was a good kid. But the evidence looked bad. The notebook was in my house. The handwriting looked like mine. The girls had matching stories. And somehow, there were messages from my number that I had never sent. Not threats exactly, just enough. "You'll all be sorry. You picked the wrong person. Wait until winter break." I begged them to check my phone. They did. The messages weren't there, but they were on theirs. Scam shots. Saved. Time-stamped. Clean. Perfect. No one arrested me that day. I think being 16 helped. I think my mom screaming for a lawyer helped more. But the damage was done before anything legal happened. By Monday, half the school knew. By Tuesday, everyone knew. People moved away from me in hallways. Teachers watched me too carefully. The girls stopped coming to school for a week and posted vague things online about fear, healing, and toxic friendships. I became the thing they had prepared. The blame. The event never happened, at least not in the way I expected. No one disappeared. No one got hurt. There was no dramatic crime on the news. That was almost worse, because it meant the event was me. My ruin. My isolation. My name turned into a warning. My mom transferred me after winter break. We moved again the next summer. I finished high school online for a while because I couldn't sit in a cafeteria without feeling like every laugh was about me. It's been 6 years now. I'm 22. I live in a different state. I don't use my phone. I don't join group chats. I don't let people take pictures of me. When someone is too friendly too fast, I feel that old avoidance. Even after escaping, even with the safety of distance and time behind me, a small, cold part of me couldn't stop replaying the faces I'd seen in my living room. The calm, empty eyes that didn't blink beneath all those perfect tears. Last winter, I got a message from Claire. Just one sentence. "I'm sorry. They picked someone new this year." I stared at it for a long time. Then another message came through. This one was a photo, a notebook page, a new list, a new name circled in red. And under it, written neatly at the bottom, were the words, "She works because she wants to be chosen." The first time a stranger told me about my own childhood, I laughed because I honestly thought it was a joke. That's the embarrassing part. I didn't get scared right away. I didn't back away. I didn't ask how he knew what he knew. I just laughed, looked at my best friend Marcus, and waited for him to explain the prank. Marcus only smiled. He had this way of smiling, where he made you feel like you were late to your own punchline. Like everyone else understood something, and you were the only one standing there confused. At the time, I was 22, living in a cramped apartment in Columbus, Ohio, working part-time at a shipping warehouse while taking community college classes at night. My life was normal in the dullest possible way. Wake up, bus to work, skin boxes for 8 hours, come home smelling like cardboard dust and cheap coffee, then try to stay awake through online lectures. Marcus had been my best friend since freshman year of high school. He was the kind of guy everyone liked immediately. Loud, charming, always getting invited places. He could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with 3 phone numbers, an inside joke, and someone offering him a couch to crash on. I was the quieter one. That didn't bother me. I liked being around him because he made life feel less flat. He pulled me out of routines I probably would have stayed in forever. So when he started inviting me out more, I thought maybe he was just trying to help. "Bro, you need to meet people," he told me one Friday night while sitting on my couch, eating my leftover pizza like he paid rent. "You're 22, and you act like you're retired." "I work mornings," I said. "You work boxes. The boxes will be there Monday." I didn't have a good argument for that, so I went with him to a small party at some apartment near campus. Nothing wild. Music too loud for the room, people holding plastic cups, the kitchen crowded with everyone pretending not to look awkward. We had barely walked in when a guy I'd never seen before shouted my name from across the room. Not just, "Hey," my actual name. "Eli." I stopped in the doorway. He came over smiling, arms open like we were old friends. Tall guy, buzzed hair, silver chain, smelled like beer and wintergreen gum. "Man, I've heard so much about you," he said, pulling me into a half hug before I could react. Marcus was right. You do look exactly like the kid from that lake story. My stomach tightened a little. "The lake story?" I asked. He laughed. "Come on, don't act embarrassed. You were like, what, 8? You thought the water snake was a shoelace and tried to pick it up." I stared at him. That was real. It had happened during a family camping trip when I was a kid. I'd told Marcus once, years ago, late at night after we'd been drinking in his parents' basement. It wasn't a big secret, just one of those stupid childhood stories you tell a close friend. Still, hearing it from a stranger felt wrong. Marcus clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You're more popular than you think," he said. Everyone laughed, so I forced myself to laugh too. I told myself Marcus had just told a funny story at some point. That was normal. Friends shared stories. People repeated them. Nothing creepy about it. But the whole night went like that. A girl in the kitchen knew my favorite song from middle school. Some guy by the window knew I hated mayonnaise because my older cousin once dared me to eat a spoonful of it at a barbecue. Another girl, one with tired eyes and chipped black nail polish, asked if I still slept with a fan on because silence made me nervous. That one made me stop. I looked at Marcus. He was watching me from the couch with that same calm smile. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia, but the music faded behind me for a second, and all I could hear was the girl's voice repeating something I had never told anyone except him. I left early that night. Marcus followed me outside, acting annoyed. "What's your problem?" "My problem?" I said. "Why does everyone in there know weird personal stuff about me?" He rolled his eyes. "Because I talk about you. You're my best friend. Relax." You told people I sleep with a fan? He laughed. That's not exactly classified information. The street looked ordinary, quiet, even comforting, with orange streetlights reflecting off wet pavement and students smoking on porches like every other Friday night. But my gut told me something was off. I'd learned too late that danger often wears a friendly face. I didn't say that then. I just went home. For the next couple weeks, it kept happening. Marcus invited me to a cafe downtown, and the barista wrote extra cinnamon on my cup without asking. I didn't even know the guy. When I stared at him, he winked and said, "Old habit, right?" At a record store, a woman flipping through vinyls looked up and said, "You're the one who cried during that animated movie with the robots." At a hangout in somebody's basement, a guy I had never met started humming the song my dad used to play in the car when I was little. He smiled when I recognized it. The worst part wasn't that they knew things. It was the way they reacted after saying them. They looked satisfied, like they'd tasted something expensive, like a private piece of me had passed through their mouth. I confronted Marcus after the cafe. We were walking back to his car, the evening cold enough that our breath came out in little clouds. "Stop telling people stuff about me," I said. He didn't even look at me. "What stuff? You know what stuff?" "Eli, you're being dramatic. You're making me feel crazy." That made him stop. For a second, the friendly mask slipped. Not all the way. Just enough. He looked tired, irritated, almost offended. Then he smiled again. "You should be grateful," he said. "For what?" "For once, people are interested in you." That hit harder than I wanted it to, because Marcus knew exactly where to press. I didn't talk to him for 4 days after that. On the 5th day, I woke up and couldn't remember my 7th grade math teacher's name. That sounds small. It was small. People forget names all the time. But I could picture her classroom perfectly. The posters with faded multiplication tricks. The smell of dry erase markers. The way she tapped her pen when she got impatient. I could see her face, but her name was gone. It bothered me all morning. Then other things started slipping. The name of my first dog. The street my grandparents used to live on. The exact color of my childhood bedroom. Not big memories. Not at first. Just little details falling out of my head like comments to the floor. I called my mom and asked her, "Hey, what was our old dog's name?" She laughed. "Ranger." "How did you forget Ranger?" I laughed too, but my hands were cold around the phone. That Friday, Marcus showed up at my apartment without warning. He had 2 coffees and an apologetic expression. "I was a jerk," he said. I stayed in the doorway. "Yeah, you were." "I know." He held up the coffee. "Peace offering?" I should have closed the door. I know that now. But loneliness makes you stupid in quiet ways. It doesn't always make you desperate. Sometimes it just makes you tired enough to forgive people who don't deserve it. I let him in. For an hour, he acted normal. Better than normal, actually. He apologized again, made fun of himself, told stories from work. I started to relax. Then he said, "There's this small thing tonight. Nothing weird. Just a couple people at Logan's place. Come with me. Last time, I swear." "No. Come on. Let me fix it." I looked at him. He looked sincere. That was the scary thing about Marcus. Even when he was lying, he looked like someone you wanted to believe. So I went. Logan's place wasn't an apartment. It was an old house split into rentals near the edge of town. The porch sagged in the middle, and the front door had 3 locks, all scratched around the keyholes. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet for a party. There were maybe 6 people in the living room, sitting in mismatched chairs like they were waiting for a meeting to start. No music, no drinks, just low conversation that stopped when Marcus and I walked in. I felt my shoulders tense. "Marcus," I whispered, "what is this?" "Just relax." A woman in a green sweater stood up. She was maybe 30, with soft eyes and a nervous smile. "Is this him?" she asked. Marcus nodded. The room seemed to breathe in. My heart sank into my stomach as the door clicked shut behind me, and I realized I was completely alone in a room full of people who already knew too much. Someone was watching, and I had no easy way out. I turned toward the door, but Marcus stepped in front of it. "Don't make it awkward," he said quietly. The woman came closer. "I only want one," she said. "Something happy." I backed away. "What are you talking about?" She looked at Marcus, uncertain. Marcus sighed like I was embarrassing him. "He gets anxious," he told her. "Just start with the payment." Payment. That word made everything in me go still. A man sitting on the couch reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He handed it to Marcus. Cash. I looked at my best friend. "What did you do?" Marcus didn't answer me. The woman reached out and touched my wrist. The second her fingers met my skin, I was back in my dad's old car. Not remembering it. Inside it, I could smell hot vinyl seats and fast food fries. I could hear rain ticking on the windshield. My dad was singing badly to that old song, drumming the steering wheel, making me laugh so hard my stomach hurt. Then the memory pulled tight, like someone had hooked it from behind. I gasped. The room came back. The woman had tears in her eyes. "Oh," she whispered. "That was beautiful." I stumbled backward, nearly falling over a chair. Something was missing. I knew I had been in a car with my dad. I knew there had been rain. I knew the memory had mattered. But I couldn't hear the song anymore. I couldn't remember his voice. I lunged at Marcus. "What the hell did you do?" He grabbed my arms, stronger than I expected. "Calm down. You sold that." He didn't deny it. The room blurred around the edges. I could feel my pulse in my ears, my hands trembling as I tried to pull away from him. Every second felt stretched, like time itself was conspiring against me. The man on the couch stood up. "I paid for the birthday one." "No," I said. My voice cracked. "No, no, no." Marcus held me tighter. "I'm sorry," he whispered, and for the first time that night, he actually sounded sorry. "But you don't understand how much they pay." I screamed. It wasn't brave. It wasn't controlled. It was panic tearing out of me. I kicked backward, hit someone's shin, and Marcus loosened his grip just enough for me to twist free. I ran for the hallway, knocking over a small table. Someone shouted. A lamp fell. Glass broke. The front door had 3 locks. My fingers shook so badly I couldn't work them. Behind me, footsteps rushed closer. I wanted to laugh at my own paranoia from weeks before, but the whisper of footsteps from the hallway made me freeze, every nerve screaming that I was not imagining this. I got one lock open, then another. A hand grabbed the back of my hoodie. I slipped out of it and fell onto the porch in my t-shirt, hitting the wet wood hard enough to knock the air from my lungs. I ran barefoot down the steps and into the street. I didn't stop until I reached a gas station 2 blocks away. The clerk called the police because I could barely speak. When the officers arrived, I told them my friend had drugged me or hypnotized me or something. I knew how it sounded. They looked at each other the way people do when they're trying to decide if you're dangerous or just high. They went to the house. No one was there. Of course no one was there. Marcus was gone too. For 3 days, he didn't answer calls or texts. His socials disappeared. His number stopped working, but the memories kept fading. Not all at once. That would have been easier, maybe. They went one by one. The smell of my grandma's kitchen. The sound of my first girlfriend laughing. The layout of my high school hallway. Then faces started blurring. Not strangers. People I loved. I went to my mom's house because I was scared to be alone. She found me sitting in her driveway at midnight, crying so hard I couldn't explain. She held me on the porch like I was a little kid again. The horrible part is, I knew she was my mother. I knew I loved her. But for a few seconds, while she held me, I couldn't remember what she used to call me when I was small. That nearly broke me. A week later, a package arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside was my old hoodie from that night, neatly folded. On top of it was a photo. It showed Marcus standing in a cafe with a stranger I didn't recognize. His arm was around the stranger's shoulders. On the back, written in Marcus's handwriting, were 5 words. Still has a few good ones. I moved out 2 days later. I changed my number, deleted everything, stopped going to places Marcus knew. I tried filing another police report, but what was I supposed to say? My best friend sold my memories to strangers, and now I can't remember parts of my life. They wrote down possible fraud and harassment. Nothing came from it. It's been 11 months now. I keep notebooks everywhere. One by my bed, one in my backpack, one taped under my desk at work. I write down names, dates, smells, songs, anything that feels important. My mom's birthday, my apartment number, the fact that my dad used to sing in the car, even though I still can't. Some mornings I wake up and read the notebooks before I trust myself to start the day. I wish I could say Marcus was my life, but that's not true. He left enough of me behind to notice what was gone. That might be worse, because I still know I had a life before this. I just can't reach all of it anymore. A month ago, I saw Marcus again. At least, I think I did. I was on the bus after work, half asleep, watching rain slide down the window. We stopped outside a coffee shop, and through the glass, I saw him sitting at a table with some young guy in a gray jacket. Marcus was smiling. The guy looked nervous, confused, maybe flattered. Then Marcus leaned over and said something to a woman across from them. She looked at the guy with bright, hungry eyes. The bus started moving before I could get off. Even after escaping, even with months between me and that house, a small, cold part of me couldn't stop replaying Marcus's face through the cafe window. The calm, empty eyes that didn't blink. The way he looked proud of himself. I went home shaking. I opened my notebook. I wrote my name 20 times. Then I stopped, because for one awful second, staring at the page, the letters didn't look familiar. They looked like someone else's name. And last night, someone knocked on my apartment door. When I looked through the peephole, there was a stranger standing in the hallway. A man in a dark coat, holding an envelope. He smiled before I said a word. Then he whispered, "Marcus said you still have a few good memories left."